Progress.
Hi everybody, welcome to EduMont. Good afternoon and welcome to our session as well, where we talk about how do you become a CPA in one attempt, or in other words, all you need to know about US CPA. My name is Rohan, and before I begin introducing myself, let me quickly introduce the team that's working here on a Saturday at 4:30 to bring this webinar to you. On our host PC, we have Saurabh. So usually it's Mohit who sits with us in this webinar, but today Mohit is not available, so Saurabh is filling in. If you have any questions, anything you want to ask, please put it in the chat. Saurabh will be the person who will be responding to it. Saurabh is our senior most program advisor. He's got a lot of experience and he knows in and out all of the details about the CPA program. With that being said, ऐसा नहीं कि मुझसे सवाल नहीं पूछ सकते. If you've got any questions that you want to ask me, feel free to do that as well. You can simply raise hand. So in the Zoom, there's an option in the lower bar here, especially if you're on a laptop. There's an option to say raise hand. Once you raise hand, we'll know you've raised hand, and then at the right time, Saurabh will allow you to talk, and you'll be in a position to actually interact with me as if we're on the phone. If you're on your mobile, then you may have to check the menu, and in the menu, you will find the raise hand option again. With that being said, we also have Mr. Chirag on the camera here, who is helping us with the frame, the angle, the lighting, and when the battery runs out towards the end of the session, he'll be the one who change it, all of those things essentially. Now, let me also introduce myself. My name is Rohan Chopra. I am a CPA and a CMA, and I'm the co-founder of EduMont. I'm also the primary faculty for all your CPA subjects at EduMont. When I say I'm the primary faculty, I mean I'm going to take care of more than 60% of each subject personally. And of course, I will need other people to help out with taking some of the classes. So I will introduce you the other faculties as well when the time comes for it. With that being said, I would also want to know who are the folks, and I see plenty of you joined in, and I understand that it's from all over India that you joined in. So I'd like to know who are you folks who've joined in on a Saturday at 4:30 for CPA. So essentially there's a poll. Sorry, if you could just quickly release it. There it is. This is not something personal that we want to ask you. These are just your education and your background essentially that we're looking at. Once you tell me this information, we will be able to cater to you accordingly. So go ahead, fill in the polls right there. Do we have our responses? So a few of you are left with the responses. If you could just fill in the poll, that would be very nice. We're just waiting on you to fill in the response, and then we'll move forward. If you could just very quickly let us know just the basics, that would be very nice. Done? All right, let's see the results on our screen here. I see some participants have just joined in. Hi, folks. I'm sorry you missed out on the introduction there, but nothing too important. So everything that's important is going to be taken care of from here on out anyway. First of all, let's talk about the audience that is visiting us. Based on your poll results, I see 93% of you took commerce in class 12th, and 7% of you took arts in class 12th. That ratio did not change when it came to your graduation. So in your graduation also, I see most folks have stuck by the same rule. Now, if I look at the third question, that's the watered down question essentially, where we find out the current situation kya hai. So 0% of the current audience is still studying. So college में है ऐसे बच्चे तो आज नहीं है, and that's a good thing. होना भी नहीं चाहिए. Most of the folks who end up doing their CPA have actually graduated. Many of the cases, they have postgraduate degrees as well. So today, the majority of the audience, 57% of you are graduates. 36% of you have done a master's or a post-graduation degree as well. So by graduation के ऊपर कुछ extra है, that means I can assume safely that you're already working or you're about to go to work. And if it's not a case of that you're working right now, it's probably temporary in nature. So you're looking for work is the idea. And then most of you have 14% of you have a professional designation as well. I assume most of these folks are CAs, but professional designations se mera matlab CA, CS, ACCA, CMA, ICWA, any of these qualifications, CIA, CIS, CISA, all of these degrees work. And from what I understand, 14% of the audience here already has a professional designation. So I'm assuming majority of the 14% are CAs. So your perspective probably is, I already have a high level qualification, I already have a high level degree, but then is there anything else out there that I can do, that I can sort of get to, that will increase the quality of my work, the quality of my earnings, the quality of my life? That is the idea. And I'm sure others also have a similar motivation in their minds. People who are graduates, majority 57% of you, I assume, are people who are either done with their graduation and already working, or you're looking for work, or you're looking to stick around for a little bit longer, complete your education and then get to work. Either ways, your thought process is अच्छी जगह से शुरू करें या फिर और ऊपर upskill करें. That's your logic. So I understand that now, and I see a majority of you come from commerce. That's a good thing, because if you come from commerce, then you will have a better understanding of 11th, 12th key, double entry system, some basic accounting, and that helps in CPA as well. Okay, let's move on straight into our presentation here. And by the way, this is not going to be a standard presentation जहाँ छोटे से डब्बे में presenter होता है. This is going to be a live presentation which will include me inside the PPT. So hi, here I am. This is me right here. Now let's move on to the first slide. This is just an intro slide where you can see a little bit about CPA and a little bit about EduMont. But don't worry, I'm going to talk about each one of these in greater detail. So let's move on to the first slide right there, Saurabh. Okay, the first question that I want to talk about, that you would also want to talk about, is what is CPA? So I know you're here for this session. You're trying to figure out how do you pass the CPA exam in one attempt. So you have some understanding of what CPA already is. But I feel if I can add a little bit of value, why not? So I'm going to try and do that. Okay, so I'm sure you've heard this online or through other people, or you heard this via a call that you have had with one of my competitors. Okay, CPA जो है, just like you've got CA in India, you also have CPA in the US. So they essentially draw a parallel here. But there's one fact that I want to tell you that will sort of blow your mind on this. 40% of my current audience, my current class, अभी जो आप लोग हो, आप में तो 14% ही हैं, but 40% of my classroom is CAs. So they already have a CA degree. Then why would these folks feel the need to get a CPA? They already have the best degree already. आज भी 14% लोग have a professional designation. Why then go for a CPA ahead if it's the same thing? So let me break this myth and let me give you the exact definition of what CPA is and what it does for you. So all publicly listed companies in India have to comply by SEBI rules. और SEBI कहता है कि if you are a publicly listed company, you need to get yourself audited, and those audited financial statements have to be returned back to the SEBI. They have to be submitted to the SEBI. So that means, because in India, the authority for the audit is the chartered accountant, that means the auditing is done by the CA, the accounting and reporting is also done by a separate CA, the tax work is done by a separate CA, and any consultancy that you may need for your business is also provided for by a CA, especially if you're a publicly listed company in India. But in the US, we have SEC, which is a counterpart to SEBI. So it's very similar in that way. But SEC ये कहता है that if you're a publicly listed company in the US, you need to get yourself audited, and the person who will do the audit is a CPA. That's the only person who has the authority for it. This is not the mind-blowing part. This is not the amazing part. Let me tell you what the amazing part is. When we talk about publicly listed companies in the US, we're actually talking about two stock exchanges. The NASDAQ, which is a large stock exchange, is good, it's fine. The second one is NYSE, New York Stock Exchange. And NYSE is the world's largest stock exchange. Almost every major brand that you can think of is already listed. And we'll talk about that in the next few slides. But almost every major brand that you can think of is already listed on the NYSE. And these guys, similar to the framework in India, need a CPA to do the audit. So accounting and reporting is also done by a CPA, but a separate CPA. Can't have the accounting and the auditing done by the same group or the same folks or the same firm. You want differentiation there. Auditor independence जिसे हम कहते हैं. Anyway, audit is done by a CPA, accounting and reporting is done by a CPA. Similarly, tax work is done by a CPA, and consultancy. Should you need to find out, should I raise more capital? Should I raise more equity? Should I raise more debt? What should be the way that I move forward? Am I ripe for taking to an IPO, or am I not? And what is the price at which we should issue our newer class of shares? All of those questions, all of those consultancies related to a process, related to your business, related to the management are done by CPAs. With that being said, the definition should now start to become a little bit more clearer to you. The reason why 40% of my audience is CAs and they still want to do a CPA is because they want to elevate to the next level, which is these international MNCs, these major brands across the globe that are listed on the New York Stock Exchange. That's what they're looking for. All right, let's move on to the next slide where I'll talk about what are the opportunities, the job market that exists for you in India and abroad. And by the way, I'm not going to try and overcommit to you. I'm not going to try and mislead you and tell you that everybody has an opportunity to just do their CPA and take a flight and move on to the US or to the UK or to Canada. ऐसा नहीं होता है. It takes a little bit of experience and it takes a lot of expertise and it takes a certain skill set to actually get to that position where you can just transition out of India and get into a good job role in the US or UK or Canada or Australia or New Zealand or wherever it is that you like to be. Now, let's look at the job market and figure out kiska kya hissa hai or what are the options that are available to you if you become a CPA. So of course, the big four and the big six, this is the common known fact that all of these companies that provide financial services that do international audits will want CPAs. And it's for good reason, right? I just explained to you, all of the companies that are listed on NYSE will need a CPA to do the accounting, will need a CPA to do the auditing, will need a CPA to do the tax work, will need a CPA to do consultancy. So big four, big six, they hire CAs and they hire CAs in bulk in India. But even in India, for their international divisions, they hire CPAs. And if you're a CA plus a CPA, that's actually a very lethal combination. I'll tell you where you fit in this pie chart with having both these qualifications. But let's say you only get your CPA qualification. The first place that you'd want to aim, इसलिए थोड़ा सा अलग भी कर रखा उसको, is big four and big six. Those are the prestigious jobs that you're looking at. But then there are also extremely prestigious and well-paying jobs in India's massive outsourcing industry. So you know this, that India is to data processing and to outsourcing what China is to manufacturing. India is the hub. And from that standpoint, if you look at it, India has a budding outsourcing industry that is still growing. ऐसा नहीं कि अब ठंडी पड़ गई है, it's still growing. So if it is still growing, all of these folks are looking to get work from the US or from companies that are not in the US, that are in the UK, that are in the New Zealand, or that are in Australia or any other country, are actually going to need internationally skilled people. And the biggest stock exchange, New York Stock Exchange, and all of the major brands there don't have a choice. It is a statutory requirement कि आप अपना काम CPA से ही कराएं, because those are the only people who are authorized. So India's massive outsourcing industry is a good source of employment for all of us. And companies like Genpact, companies like BDO, companies like Accenture are happy to take you up for your job role as a CPA at a good salary if you are willing to take that job offer. The next up is all of the NYSE listed organizations. And in this, I mean, there's more than a few thousand listed, but there are 10,000 of the world's top brands already listed on NYSE. So just to enlighten you, let me tell you how this works. So of course, American companies that are big in size get listed in the US, sure. But what is a common trend that we've seen so far in the industry is also that all of the brands from every country, once they are publicly listed in their hometown or in their homeland, let's say for example, Tata Motors is listed in India as well, HDFC is listed in India as well, but once you're listed here, the next ambition you have is to go get listed on NYSE. And again, like I said, most major brands that you can think of are already listed there. तो उसके पीछे हमारे Indian brands भी कुछ listed हैं. For example, Tata Motors that I spoke of is listed on NYSE. And your HDFC Bank that I spoke of earlier is also listed on NYSE. You also have Wipro, you also have Infosys. So all of these top brands that are doing really well in their field after getting publicly listed in India are looking to get listed abroad. Even Reliance Industries, which is not publicly listed in NYSE, actually trades Eurobonds on the NYSE. As a result, has to comply with the SEC rules, Securities Exchange Commission के rules के साथ, it has to comply. So even they need CPAs. And then of course, everything that you want to wear, everything you want to eat, everything you want to drive, any type of brand that you can think of, from medicine to edible food to restaurant chains. Everything that you think of as a brand is either directly or indirectly through its parent already listed on the NYSE. That's the idea. The next avenue that you have is foreign investment and investor bias. So every time you want to bring investment from the US to India for any project, the investor has a question. Who is going to be the CFO? And if the CFO is a CPA only, तो वो ठीक है, अच्छा है, but that's not great either. And if the CFO is a CA only, that's also fine, but it's not great either. Investor confidence gets a boost when the CFO of this project has both a CA and a CPA. This way they understand the local laws, they also understand the international ramifications of it. So if you're looking to raise investment from a foreign capital firm or a venture capital firm or an investment bank, etc., whatever it is that you want to look at raising funds from, you can be sure that the person in charge of all the finances, the CFO, would be a CPA and a CA, would have local and foreign qualifications, and then the investor is more likely to invest. And then, of course, there is expat taxation and foreign taxation. So entities in India, for example, let's take an example of Amazon. Amazon India is an entity that earns in rupees, makes its financial statements in rupees, but then has to pay the taxes in rupees as well. That's good. But at the end of the day, this Indian entity has to be consolidated with the parent entity that is listed on NYSE. तो consolidation का काम जो है वो Big Four वगैरह करते हैं. That is one job role. But the second job role is foreign taxation. You have to then claim a foreign tax credit. Say that you have to, Amazon India will say, I've paid a certain amount of taxes in India already. I don't want my income to be taxed twice. So I need a CPA to help me with this process and get me the right amount of foreign tax credit so that I don't have to pay the taxes twice. So that's another very strong source. And of course, India में रहते हुए expat taxation is very important. There's a lot of foreigners that come to India, work in key positions. These guys, they don't know how to, manage the two things, how to manage their earnings in rupees, pay taxes in India, and then also file a return in the US. So again, expat taxation is something that we help out with, CPAs help out with. And lastly, there's new ventures and new investment avenues opening up almost every day. So new ventures open up that are trying to be cross-border. So Uber जैसी company started in the US, came to India. When they came to India, they needed somebody who could help them understand the Indian landscape, but also at the same time understand what it means for the parent entity in the US and how the consolidation process would work, how the taxation process would work. All of those questions need to be solved by somebody, a team preferably, not just an individual, a team of CACPAs. That's the idea. So these 6 core areas actually represent more than a few thousand job opportunities and more than a few thousand different kinds of jobs. But I can't put 1,000 here, so I put it up in 6 small pies in the pie chart. That's what we've done here. All right, let's move on to the next slide. And let's talk about the fact that you can actually access the world with your CPA. So if you're looking to, for example, migrate abroad, you're not just looking to stick around in India, then you have a few paths that you can take. 3-4 रास्ते हैं जो आप ले सकते हो. The thing that you have to understand is that the US CPA actually enables you to move abroad beyond US. You can get a foot in the door in virtually every major economy around the world. So for example, if we talk about Canada, and we're talking about every of these, we'll talk about each one of these countries, but let's start off with Canada because that has the best structure. Okay, so Canada, if you wanted to move out and you wanted to get a job in Canada, as a CA, you have a MRA. CA के करके MRA है ICAI का with CPAC, CPA Canada. But in that MRA, you will have to take a 6-month training and then give a 3-day continuous exam. Only if you clear that exam will you get the CPA Canada. And only after that will you really be able to get a job in Canada. because as a CA alone, it becomes really hard. That's the idea, because it's not a qualification that is widely accepted, that is widely known in the Western Hemisphere. मैं ये नहीं कहना चाह रहा उससे कि CA हल्की डिग्री है, not at all. I would be ignorant to say something like that. It's one of the best qualifications we have in India for finance and accounting. I understand that, and it's very difficult as well. I understand that. But look at the quality of MRAs that we have, that AICPA has, that CPA can provide for you when you do actually migrate between borders. So if you go to Canada as a CPA, as an American CPA, there is no exam. There is nothing. You pay a $230 fee and convert your US CPA into a CPA Canada. It's that straightforward a process. So if, for example, you do land up in Canada and you want to get a job, you're not left thinking, ab main kya karun? Do I have to go through a 6-month training first? Do I have to give a 3-day continuous exam first? Or I can just start off. You can just start off. When you land, that's all it takes. Once you land, you can straight away go into your job search and start your job search. That's the idea. For example, if you want to get the CPA from Australia and New Zealand, called the CANZ, CAANZ. इनकी Australia New Zealand की combined body है. So if you want to go to New Zealand, for example, and you want to work there, all it takes is one exam. One exam, that's it. And CANZ के साथ ICAI का MRA नहीं है. If you want to go to Hong Kong, for example, one exam, IQEX, International Qualification Exam, IQEX. All you need to do is give one exam and qualification. Ireland, Mexico, Scotland have the same setup. And then again, if you want to move to Australia, you want to get the CPA Australia. If you have a CA degree already and you've given your 16 exam, you've given your 5 to maybe 7-8 years of qualification time, of studying time, and then qualified, and then you want to move to Australia, you would have to give 4 exams. But as a CPA, there's only one exam, IQEX. That's all it takes. Now, the reason why you have this kind of a mobility option, that you can get a qualification from anywhere with virtually no exams or one exam and no effort at all on your end, or very limited effort on your end, is because of the size of the American economy. It is the world's largest. That's a known fact. The world's largest economy, when they come along and say, this is our qualification, and everybody who trades with us has to acknowledge it, then everybody gets in line. Another interesting fact that you would find, IQEX की slide में हमने नहीं डाला because it doesn't really have its own qualification, is UAE. And that, by the way, is the best part of the CPA qualification. That it gets you 2 to 3 countries की qualifications instantly. And you have that kind of mobility option. UAE की अपनी CA level की qualification नहीं होती. In fact, UAE follows a version of US GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles. So the beauty of it is, when you become a CPA, you are a qualified accountant in UAE already. There is no exam, there is no fee, there is nothing. It's just a recognized fact. And that is down to the fact that the UAE economy, even today, sells its most valuable resource, petroleum, only for $1. It would not sell it for any other currency but dollar. So they are naturally very well inclined and very well set up for US GAAP application. So as it happens to be, agar aap CPA kar lete ho, then you can actually start applying directly to UAE. You can't directly apply to Canada with no experience. You can't directly apply to Australia or New Zealand or any of these other countries. You will need a certain amount of experience, but UAE is open. It's extremely open. So you can, after getting a CPA, start applying for jobs directly there. And I've seen a few of my students getting placed there and getting very happy with the fact that they are now out of the country and into a different world altogether. But with that being said, it's not necessary that you leave India. If you want, you can stick around, stay in India. I know I do. I've been to Canada. I've worked for a whole year there. I had a very nice, very well paying job as well. But I was behind a desk and I wasn't using the skill that I like most about me, which is my public speaking. And I essentially live for this, for the camera, for being able to speak to you all on a weekend. So I decided, and for personal family reasons as well, I decided it's best if I come back and I start something else. And I did, and I started teaching. And after that, I got into this line. But I'm not trying to talk about me. I'm trying to talk about you. Because if you want to stay in India, जो पिछला पेज है एक बार वापस जाओ सौरभ, let's go back to the old slide. This pie that I explained to you exists in India. Of course it exists abroad as well, but it exists in India as well. All of these areas are happy to have you. So the opportunities are truly vast, and it's only a matter of you qualifying and then grabbing these opportunities. But with that being said, we offer a placement assistance program. We do not offer placement guarantee. So I know some of you would have heard this before, where this was discussed and publicized. KG, we provide a double placement guarantee. I'm sure you're also realizing now that the reviews are coming out and people are telling that they're not getting placed at all. And then finally, jab CPA ban jate hain, so they get placed through their own effort. The company is not really able to assist them in any way. But that's down to the fact that they're providing a guarantee. Well, guarantee word is wrong. You see, the thing is, if a KPMG rejects you in the interview room, there is no institute out there that can provide enough pressure कि KPMG नौकरी पे आपको रख ही ले फिर. That doesn't happen. I can't pressurize a major organization to hire somebody at my will. That doesn't work. And at the same time, the idea of their guarantee is that there are enough jobs available कि कहीं ना कहीं से तो कुछ ना कुछ मिल ही जाएगा. So the same thing applies to us, but we don't frame it as a guarantee. We call it assistance. And in our assistance program, we've got 3 levels. Number 1, if you want, we can provide you with a referral. So I've got alumni and students working across every major company in India, and a few working abroad as well. So if, for example, you want to get placed at a company, you come to me and you tell me, sir, KPMG में job offer है, या Johnson Controls में ये job offer है. Fine, we've got somebody there who can actually refer you. That will give you the brownie points. That will give you the edge over any other candidate. That's number 1. Number 2, we also have a strong alumni network that keeps an eye out for any major jobs. And our HR department is in touch with all of the HRs across these major organizations. Where the idea is we will provide you the student's CV free of cost. So we do not charge the organization at all. As a result, it's a free source. And if you know anything about hiring, you would know this, that the HR would always prefer to first vet candidates from a free source. Then they would want to go to a paid source. The third step that we have is, if you are finding it really difficult to get placed, you're not able to figure it out, we'll provide you with the right amount of coaching on how to crack your interview. What all can you fix there? And then we'll go to placement agency. So we've got ties with 3 placement agencies as well. We'll then go to the placement agency and say, you know what, this is a candidate, we'd like you to get placed. So if it's a case where you're not having any good luck at all, and for some reason problem ban rahi hai, we'll tell you the skills needed, we'll help you with those skills, and then we'll also go to placement agency that gets paid for placing you. That's fine as well, but that's a very rare use case. I'll be honest. That's a very rare use case. But all 3 levels exist and they are available to you. Now, with that being said, let's move on to the next slide. The next slide, actually, where I want to talk to you about the realities, the brass tacks, the exam pattern. Because if you're interested in CPA and you see that there is a huge amount of potential, a huge amount of opportunities that exist, तो सब ये access करने के लिए पहले तो paper clear करने पड़ेंगे. Naturally, you'll have to first clear the CPA exams to get the CPA designation. So let's talk about the exam pattern here. There's 3 types of questions that you will see in the CPA exam. There's MCQs, TBSs, and WCTs. Let me explain each one of those, and then let me give you a breakdown of each subject and how that works. First of all, MCQs, multiple choice questions. These are fairly common. You know what they are. A question, 4 choices. That's the idea. Then there's TBSs, task-based simulations. In a TBS, this is different because it's unique to the CPA exam. You would not have seen this before. In a TBS, we get you to do an actual task from the industry. So this is a task that a first-year associate is supposed to be able to perform. So for example, the first exam is audit. So audit ke case mein, they will give you a blank report. They'll tell you what the partner is saying the opinion should be, and you're supposed to fill in the blanks. Or industry mein bhi aise hi hota hai. It's not that the partner will type in the report, right? The partner will say, I'm giving this kind of an opinion, but it's usually a first-year associate who types up the report and makes sure that there are no errors in it. So that work needs to be done by you. If it's, for example, FAR, accounting and reporting, then they'll give you a series of transactions and tell us the journal entries. Journal entries post karo. That could be a task-based simulation. Or for regulation, they'll ask you to fill in a return, a tax return. or maybe they'll ask you to fill in a W2, which is India में जिसको Form 16 कहते हैं, इस तरह की चीज. And then the last thing is BEC, which is a consulting subject, which is generic business subject. So business subject में भी TVS होते हैं. So then there they will give you a problem that a client is facing and they'll ask you what could be a possible solution. The third type of questions that you can see are WCTs, written communication task. In a WCT, the idea is it's an essay that you have to type. So you don't have to write it because this is a computer adaptive exam, but you are to type it. And about 500 words for each essay. And you'll only see 3 WCTs across the entire CPA syllabus, across the 4 exams. So these are actually the rarest form of questions. ये सबसे rare है. And I personally feel that Indian students have quite an advantage in WCTs. तो ज़्यादा होते तो हम शायद और advantage मिलता हमें, because we are used to writing long essays in all our exams. That's basically how we pass our qualifications. So WCTs are rare. Only in BEC will you find them, which brings me to the subject-wise breakup. First thing you need to know is there are 4 subjects and 4 exams. But again, this is a fairly popular fact. I'm sure you already know this. Each exam is for 4 hours. So a total of 16 hours of testing. Audit, FAR, Reg and Beck. ये 4 exams हैं. इसके अंदर audit is broken up into 5 testlets just like everybody else. But audit, FAR and Reg follow a similar pattern. Beck has a slightly different pattern. Audit, FAR and Reg. The first 2 testlets, यानी the first 2 groups will always be MCQs. The next 3 testlets will always be TBSs, task-based simulations. So now I'm sure you're figuring out कि ये testlet 5 हैं. Testlet क्या होता है? It's a group, I've told you, but why are there only 5? Why not have 6? Why not have 4? Why have 5 testlets? I'm going to tell you why I have 5 testlets in the next slide. Put a pin in it. That's a point that I want to tell you and explain you when I get to the next slide. But for now, let me explain to you the breakdown. First 2 testlets for all 4 exams are MCQs and they have a 50% weightage. The remaining 50% is testlet 3, 4 and 5, which for audit, FAR and Reg will always be TBSs. For Beck, testlet 3 and 4 are TBSs, but testlet 5 is those WCTs that we spoke about. WCTs जिसमें ऐसे लिखना पड़ता है. That is the idea. That is the exam pattern right there. This does explain to you the breakdown, but doesn't tell you much, does it? Let's move on to the next slide, where I'm going to discuss about, well, how is the CPA exam different? And here we'll talk about each of these intricacies in detail. So I have a question that I wanted to ask you all, and sort of if you could release this poll here. The MCQs, objective type testing, सुन के आपको क्या लगता है? Are they easy? Are they medium? Are they hard? Or could they be extremely difficult? What is your understanding on this? What is your take on this? Go ahead, tell me in the poll. So folks, I see more than 80% of you have already answered. The rest of the 20% that haven't answered, please go ahead, quickly answer the poll and we'll move ahead. आपको क्या लगता है? MCQs आसान होते हैं या मुश्किल होते हैं? Done? All right, let's take a look at the results here. So I sort of know what the results would be. We do this every week, and every week a similar sort of result comes along. Let's see if it's the same this week as well. Go ahead, just quickly share the screen, share the results. There they are. Very similar. Although I will say this, extremely difficult पे usually कम vote आते हैं. इस बार it seems a more enlightened audience has come to us, and we've gotten more votes. But usually the trend is similar. A very small percentage of people say it's easy. 37% people said it's medium. Another 37% people said it's hard. And then 21% people actually agreed that it's extremely difficult. So usually यही split दिखता है, somewhat similar split दिखता है. It's good that we've got a different result this time than the very traditional result that we get. Let's just end this right here. And I'd like to answer this question for you all. So it's a trick question that I asked you, and I gave you so many choices for this very reason. Gave multiple choices. But here's the deal. Let's look at Kaun Banega Crorepati. And if you don't watch that show, if you watch the American show, the European show, it's called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. So on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, ya Kaun Banega Crorepati pe, the idea is it's all MCQs. And the first question is fairly easy. But the last question, which is worth 1 crore rupees or $1 million or £1 million, that particular question is so difficult that there's only a handful of people on the entire planet that have ever won that amount of money. It's not about being MCQ or objective or anything else. The thing that you need to realize is कि MCQ है, इससे फर्क नहीं पड़ता. It is the intent of the examiner. What is the intent of the examiner? They could get you to do something in an MCQ fashion, which is so difficult that it would require 2 sheets of working papers. And it's still an MCQ. Doesn't really matter. So let's not judge this qualification on the basis that it has 50% MCQs, which are objective, and it has 50% TBSs, which are again objective. Let's not do that. Let's try and understand this exam mein what is different. First thing you need to know is you need a 75th percentile or more to clear the exam. And I've seen people make a mistake in this plenty of times. You call up my other competitors, most of them will on the phone tell you 75%. Easier to explain to the student. Na? Student will be like, अच्छा 75% लाने, ठीक है, वो तो पता ही अपने को. But it's not a percentage, it's a percentile. Now, the way your percentages work in India is if you got 10 questions and you get 7 of those right, you get a 70% score. This is what we call your percentage of accuracy. But in a percentile system, we've got more than one variable. We've got 2 variables. The second variable is the level of difficulty achieved. Now, remember I asked you, why do they have 5 testlets? Why not have 6 or 4? That question gets answered right here. The reason you have 5 testlets is because 4 bar, the level of difficulty gets compounded in the CPA exam. And I told you the CPA exam is computer adaptive, right? So how you perform in testlet 1 will determine the level of difficulty for testlet 2. And how you perform in testlet 2 will then determine the level of difficulty for testlet 3. And how you perform in testlet 3 will then determine the level of difficulty for testlet 4 and then 5. That's how that goes. 4 bar compound hogi. It will get compounded 4 times. That's the idea. That's why we've got 5 groups, 5 testlets. And again, every time you do well in a testlet, the second testlet becomes slightly incrementally difficult. You get a better percentile. That's the idea there. That's the first thing. So when people tell you CPA exam to aasan hai, jaldi ho jata hai. See, if you're comparing it with something as traditional as a CA, yes, it is easier. I do not deny it. It obviously is. CMA passing percentage is super low. CMA takes a long time to actually clear the qualification. There's also training involved of 3 years. CA is pretty difficult, boss. CA could be one of the most difficult things on the planet. But when you don't compare it with that and compare it to any other traditional qualification, you will find that the more difficult your exam is, the higher level of difficulty you can achieve, the more you're rewarded. So the CPA exam is by design not supposed to be an easy exam. It's not supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be difficult. And if it's getting easier, then your percentile is decreasing. Because if you don't do well in testlet 1, testlet 2 becomes easier. If you don't do well in testlet 2, testlet 3 becomes easier. And the minute it starts to do that, khatam mamla. You're not going to clear this exam. That's the problem. Now, with that being said, the CPA exam is actually 99.96% objective because there's very small scope for typing the essay questions. That's it. Baki sab objective hai. Even the TBSs are objective. As a result, there's a less reliance on memory, and this is also something that shows up in the skills that are tested and the way the exam is designed, which I'm going to talk about in just 1 second. The other thing that I want to tell you before I go into that is there is no negative marking in the CPA exams. No negative marking. With that being said, here are the skills that are being tested in the CPA exam that you need to be aware of. And this is in descending order. इन डिसेंडिंग ऑर्डर, मतलब सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट सबसे ऊपर है, लीस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट सबसे नीचे है. तो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट इज इवैल्यूएशन, then there's analysis, then there's application, and finally there's remembering. So I'm sure some of you are already getting it, but some of you would be thinking, ye to buzzwords hain, how will I make sense out of this? How do I know what evaluation is, what analysis is, what application is? I'm not trying to get you into that point at all. What I'm going to tell you here is, in India, our study pattern is based entirely on filling in a blank page. हमारी टेस्टिंग ऐसी होती है, they tell us what the content is that we need to study, and then they tell us the exam will have questions that are subjective in nature and you will have to fill in a blank page. So by very design we are geared to remembering the content. In so many words, we sort of cram the content, रट लेते हैं उसको. Rote learning is very important if you want to clear the Indian qualifications, because you have to fill in a blank page of paper that's needed. By contrast, look at the skills tested and the order in which they're testing. Memory is the last point here. Of course, you need a certain amount of memory. क्या पढ़ा था वो याद ही नहीं है अगर बिल्कुल भी, तो फिर तो बात नहीं बनेगी. But you don't have to rote learn it. You don't have to by heart every word in it. Here, the skills of evaluation, analysis, and application are much more important. So the CPA exam and the testing pattern in it is different from the traditional testing that you've seen so far, even in a qualification like CA. उसमें भी जो testing pattern है उससे अलग है ये. It's different. They're testing something different. All right, let's move on to the next slide, Saurabh, and talk about who is our content partner. Because if the skills tested are different, the CPA exam has a certain level of difficulty, then the first thing you should know about is content है किसका पढ़ाने जा रहे हैं content. Have I developed it myself? And there's a small scam here in the market that you need to know, that you need to be aware of. There are good brands out there, good brands that you consider are brands, that are actually running this scam. They're selling you their own local homegrown material, self-made material. And it may sound attractive to you because their pricing is much lower than everybody else in the market, but you have to be aware that this is not AICPA approved material. And because it is not an approved material, there is no check on the quality and there is no check on it being updated. The thing you have to understand is the CPA content gets updated. Every 6 months or so, a new law gets passed and it gets added into the course. So the content needs to be constantly updated. So if you don't have AICPA approved material, there is a problem. Now there are 5 firms that have been given the AICPA approval, and any other name beyond these 5, if you ever encounter such a name, please be aware it is not AICPA approved, despite what the salesman is claiming. It's a scam, it's a proper scam, bhai. So even the salesman is trained to tell you that it's approved. So you don't ask them, you check on your own. There's only 5 that are actually approved. Kaun se 5 hai? There's Wiley, there's Rogers, there's Beckers, there's Sargent, and there's Gleam. And this is the only 5 firms that have the AICPA stamp of approval. इसके अलावा कुछ भी और आपको मिल रहा है, please be aware. It may sound like an international name, it may sound like a good name, it doesn't mean anything. And always ask the salesperson, who is the author of your content? If they tell you our company co-founder is the author of the content, that's a hint in itself. That's the biggest hint right there. But with that being said, let me tell you why we chose Wiley. So when we started our firm, we had the choice to figure out who to partner with, and it's a reseller model. So I could go to anybody, give them a check, they would issue me the books. It was not a problem at all. But we had to figure out who do we partner with, because we were sure we were not creating our own content. We were not going to run that scam at all. Sasta padta, but it's not the ethical thing to do. So we figured we want international material. And then we had the 5 firms, we went to all of them. And we spoke with all of them, and they gave us a demo, all of them. I found, because the content is the approved content, is the same across all 5 of the providers, I found there are only a few things that really differentiate them. And you'll find, iska similar example मैं आपको दूं, मैं थोड़ा unrelated example देता हूं. If you are in the market to buy a car for about 50 lakhs, you have 3 major options, right? You've got BMW, you've got Audi, and you've got Mercedes. And if you then start comparing the three of them on a spec sheet across ranges, you will find there's only small differences. There's not much. For example, a BMW will have 4 AC vents in the rear seat, and so will an Audi, so will a Mercedes. A BMW will have a panoramic sunroof, so will an Audi, so will a Mercedes. BMW में 320 horsepower, same with the Mercedes, same with the Audi. Why? Because they're all competing for the same market share. So they're essentially so obsessed with each other, they're creating the same sort of content. Same thing applies here. The same sort of thing is being created. But there are some USPs that make a difference. One such USP that I found with Wiley that was a game changer for us has been highlighted in yellow right here. It says access till you pass. So here's another small pitfall. It's not a scam. It's a pitfall that you need to be aware of. वो scam बन जाता है because people don't tell you about it, but you need to be aware. All of these resellers that you find for Becker's, all of these resellers that you find for Rogers, for Gleam, for Sargent, they are all issuing you limited access. And that's the key difference. You have to be clear on this. When you talk to them on the phone, ask them, material की access कितनी देर की है? They'll tell you it's for 16 months. They'll tell you it's for a year. It's a limited access. Depend करता है किसका क्या setup है, but it's a limited access always, which means you're renting the study material. And when it expires, you'll have to pay about 50% of the invoice value again to get it renewed. So if you have to pay again to get it renewed, it's not, you're only renting it. With Wiley, we found they gave access till you pass, which basically means you have the study material for as long as you need it. जब तक pass नहीं होते, material आपके पास है, and it gets updated. It gets updated and gets uploaded to you. That's the idea basically. Now, with that being said, so let's stop the slideshare here and actually take people into the Wiley test bank. Let's show them how that works. So here we are in the audit test bank. We'll start off with the dashboard where if you scroll down, by the way, it's already telling me you're behind. So the idea is it has an assessment system which looks at your performance and figures out, are you behind on your preparation or are you there? Ye teacher access hai, so of course I'm only doing questions when I'm doing them in front of the class. So I am not doing all of them. So I am going to be behind. But when I was a student, I wasn't so behind. So let's move on down and look at this section right here. Correct. This tells me mera course completion percentage kya hai. And let's move ahead. Let's talk about what is my TBS completion percentage. Then it tells me what is my assessment completion percentage. And then it tells me maine test bank mein kitne questions complete kiye hain. Then it tells me what is the situation with my practice exam. And then it tells me how much study time have I put in. How much time have I put in that I need to put in. Usme se kitna de chuka hu main. This is a generic dashboard that you see, but let's move into the test bank right there. There we have, that's the test bank loading on your screens right now. And here you have the actual questions. And the good thing is you'll be able to choose not only on a topic wise basis, but you'll also be able to filter down in the subtopic aapko kaun sa padhna hai. So let's say we start off with introduction and preface. So Saurabh, let's release a few questions. Let's scroll down and look at how the questions are working. Now, if you look at this filter right here, isme ek cheez ye batata hai. It says out of the 12, 6 questions were answered correctly. 6 were answered incorrectly, and 3 questions, from what I see, were flagged. So 12 में से 6 ठीक थे, 6 गलत थे. जो गलत थे उनमें से 3 flag किए गए. So remember this, and I will tell you the exact study pattern in the next slide when we get there. So remember this, there are 3 categories of questions. Questions you got right, questions you got wrong, and questions that you flagged. इसकी मैं बात करूंगा. Now here it is, the question from the test bank. The beauty of this is the exact same interface that you will see in the CPA exam. This is another pitfall that you will find local materials don't have, because ये ऐसे नहीं मिल जाती interface. For this, royalty has to be paid to US CPA, and only approved partners will have this kind of an interface. Others will not. इसके अंदर CPA exam में जो actual दिखता है वैसे ही यहाँ चलता है. The difference is that you'll also be able to, in this, make notes. That's additional here. You can't make notes in the exam. But then there's an on-screen calculator that you can use in the CPA exam as well. And then there's Excel as well that is available to you if you want to use. Don't release it, Saurabh. It's not needed. But you can use the same Excel that you have, Microsoft Excel. Then this is the section where you'll be able to see testlet mein kitne questions remain karte hain. How many have I answered? how many remain? And then the last one is help. Again, help is only available in this section, not actually in the exam. This is only for you to use if you have a need, a technical difficulty that you're experiencing in the question, in the test bank. Now let's select a choice. हाँ भी कर लो select. चलो गलत हो गया आपका, कोई नहीं. So it will tell you why you went wrong. ठीक है ना? And then it will also tell you सही आंसर क्या है. So सही आंसर D है. And why is the answer right? That's the most important part of a test bank. I've seen test banks जिसमें सब कुछ इकट्ठे लिखा आ जाता है. But the way it should be is this exact way. If you click a choice, you should only be able to find out why your answer is wrong, so that you still have the option of choosing from the other three. अगर सब कुछ इकट्ठे दिखा देंगे आपको तो आपको पता चल जाएगा एक ही बार में आंसर सही क्या है. That's not useful to you. So that's the beauty of it. It will tell you which option is right, which option is wrong. And as a student, you should be able to choose and figure out आपका जो आंसर सही है, is it for the same reason as the test bank? And then you should also be able to choose कि जो गलत options आई, the ones that you got wrong, were they wrong for the same reason? Did you eliminate them for the same reason? That's the idea. Okay, let's submit this test letter and take you to the result page. So that happens to be Saurabh would have gotten a 33% accuracy because तीन में से एक ठीक हो गया सौरभ के तुक्के तुक्के में, and he's got a 33% grade. There it shows, है ना? And it also shows you in this page the exact reasons and which answer is right, which is wrong. यहाँ पे फिर it finally reveals the full result, and it tells you you chose B, but D is the correct choice. Now, if you want, you can retake the incomplete ones. You can retake all of the questions, or you could return to the test bank. So let's return to the test bank for now. And let me take you to a magical section called metrics. This is the true highlight of the Wiley test bank that I really love, because as a faculty, this really helps me. You see how this is capturing your data. It's capturing exactly how many hours you put in, how many assessments have you released. It's also telling you what was your score in those sections. It's telling you your average grade. It's also telling you your highest grade. And then click on the 33 there, जो last वाला हमने किया. And if you click on any of these, मैंने 33 पे करवा दिया, because you will remember and recollect, the same three questions will appear. So you can not only just look at it, you can also review at a later date what were the questions you chose. Go back to the metrics and I'll show you one more thing. You can also download the report here. Why is this important? Well, I'll tell you when we get to that slide, which is the next slide. I'll tell you about it. Next to next slide, I'll show you why this is important. Okay, let's go back to our presentation. There we are. So आगे चलते हैं, एक और आगे चलते हैं. Let's go one step ahead. Let's actually now talk about the steps to study. And then I'll tell you वो metric section की जो downloadable report है वो मेरे किस काम आती है. How can I help you with the use of that report? I'll show you that as well. But अभी नहीं, वापस आ जाओ. Let's go back to the steps it takes to actually prepare. Remember, there were three types of questions that you could see. There was the right ones, wrong ones, and there was flagged questions. So these are 5 steps that you should follow when you're doing your study in the test bank. Step 1 is to do all of the MCQs. When you do all of the MCQs, this is when you'll find out sahi kaun se ho rahe hain aur galat kaun se ho rahe hain. So right questions will get along on one side. But more importantly, there is a mistake that people make that you should avoid. And I find the Wiley test bank sort of promotes it. वो जब कहता है ना retake, you should not retake. So a common mistake people make here is people will end up, after finding out कि आंसर गलत हो गया है और सही आंसर क्या है, they will retake the section and mark the answer right. This will give you false sense of safety कि अब तो समझ में आ गया है, but उससे होगा कुछ नहीं. You will end up learning the questions, and in the exam the questions will be unseen. For unseen questions, you should not really be doing this. Unseen questions are the only skill you can rely on in the exam is the skills you build. And you have to build a skill. That's the point. Again, there are skills being tested in the CPA exam. For example, evaluation, analysis, and application. And lastly, remembering. These are the skills that are being tested. So, इसका एक छोटा सा example मैं आपको देता हूँ. For example, driving is a skill, right? So, if I was to give you a book with 300 pages in it, and you were to learn every word in it, would that teach you how to drive? Would you get the skill of driving? नहीं ना. उसके लिए you have to actually practice. You actually have to go out on the road, in your car and you have to learn how to drive. That's the point. It's a more practical approach when you're learning a skill. Same as with swimming, singing, dancing, anything, any skill that you think is a skill requires practice. Similar situation here, right? So for step one, when you're doing the MCQs, I need intellectual honesty. I need you to accept galti ho gayi na to chhod do usko wahin pe. Why? Because in step two, we look at the incorrect questions. And when we do step two, that is the time when I want you to open up the hard books of Wiley. I want you to look at the topic, read it in depth, and then reattempt the questions. The idea is to get your accuracy up organically. Organically, accuracy percentage upar aani chahiye. That's the idea. Now, when you're done with step two, you'll actually be done with about 95% of the MCQs. But 5% MCQs abhi bhi atak jayenge. Those are the ones that are flagged. Because you're making a mistake multiple times in those questions, that question is flagged. Step three is to do the flagged questions. Now, these are those dark areas where knowledge should have existed, but there's only a blank that you're drawing. So this is what we really need to talk about. This is where you should get in touch with your teacher, your faculty, me or Saurabh or Paras or whoever is taking the class, or Mega, whoever is taking the class, whoever taught you that subject, you should be able to get in touch with them or me if needed and figure out, can you explain this to me one more time? Can you tell me what the concept is? What am I not getting here? And that's what we need to look at. That's the detail we need to look at. That's the sort of research that we need to do. When you're done with this, MCQ section is done. But remember, only 50% of the exam is MCQs. The remaining 50% is TBSs. So when we talk about TBSs, which is step 4, I want you to do the same 3 things. I want you to do all of the TBSs once. Galti ho jaye to ho jaye. No problem. Let it be. At a later date, we will correct the errors. After doing some reading, after refiguring out the question, then we'll do it. And then eventually, if you flagged something because you feel case mein bar bar galti ho rahi hai, then you look at the flagged ones. When you're done with step 4, that's when you're done with the entire test bank. But there is one more thing that is still left. And it's not to help you learn the content any better. It's actually designed to make you more acclimatized to the idea of sitting for 4 hours. It's to get your body ready to sit for 4 hours and perform at high speeds. Because the CPA exam is not just an exam of the content, it's also about managing time. So let's go back into the Wiley test bank and show everybody sort of how the mock exams look. So you can actually create an unlimited number of mock exams. But if you're a working professional and you don't have a lot of time before the exams, then I suggest doing the 2 mock exams that come as standard. So this is the mock exam section where there are 2 tracks, practice exam A, practice exam B. And you can choose that. Or wo na pasand aaye ya un dono mein score kam aaye, you can then take an unlimited amount of a practice exam. So it says unlimited practice exam. Let's go back to our slides, Saurabh. So the idea here is that if you are in your step 5, we want you to get an average accuracy percentage of 95%. When you get a 95% accuracy, that is actually the right time to take up the exam because form matters. And this is a skill. तो skill में ऐसे ही होता है ना, form एक time पे आप form में आ जाते हो. This is the point. The mock exams will help you with that. Now, we're not just going to leave it up to you to figure it out. We're actually also going to help you in gauging your preparation. We'll tell you how to look at your preparation, how to figure out which topics are good, which topics are poor, and when to schedule your exam. But before I get into that, let's move on to the next slide. And let me tell you, is the way we teach you that makes us exceptional. So I know it sounds as if मैं अपनी तारीफ खुद कर रहा हूँ. But the idea is, I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to tell you an entirely different agenda here. See, there are firms out there that are really good at marketing, that have gotten very good at marketing the CPA product to you. And you're very likely to buy from them because they're all going to offer you lower prices. They're going to give you good ads to look at. They're going to give you all kinds of testimonies, everything else. And they're spending a lot of their money, their time, their resource on that aspect, on getting more people. We're not there yet. We're not in that business at all. We are actually in a slightly different business. We've put our effort, our brain into teaching you, into bringing the online infrastructure to you in a way that makes most sense to you. So again, let's move into our LMS and show everybody how do we teach you? Kya karte hain hum? And I'm going to give you a small hint on our classes. and I'm going to show you how we train you and what are the types of classes that we give you. So first of all, when you log into the EduMont LMS, here's where you can see all of the classes that are currently running and that are scheduled. So for example, this is the auditing. आगे चले गए आप, वापस आ जाओ. Sorry for that. So here you can see auditing and BEC are the two batches that are currently available. BEC is going to start off from next Sunday. Auditing is already running. And the idea is we run parallel batches because we also want to make a reasonable amount of profit as a business. So we do parallel batches, but batches being the operative word. Why batches? Because the idea is we don't want an endless amount of people in our class because that spoils the efficacy, the effectiveness of the class. If you've got 500 students in the class, it's no longer a class. And now none of you have the liberty to ask any questions. फिर आप सवाल भी नहीं मुझसे पूछ पाओगे और मैं जवाब भी नहीं दे पाऊंगा आपको. So instead, we've restricted the number of seats on a per batch basis. जरूरत पड़ेगी 3 batch खोल देंगे. If the firm grows to that point, we'll do 3. But the idea is in each class, it's a class. Limited number of people need to be there so that we have the ability to interact. आपस में बात कर पाए. Now, let's tell you how to register for a class. Let's say you are here, you click on the Sunday concept class. क्योंकि कल Sunday है, कल की class आ रही है. ये कल की class का खुल गया लिंक 6 नवंबर का. All you got to do is fill in, click register, and then when the class starts, you can just simply log in into the class. That's the idea. Now, let's actually show people what the classes are like. So let's go to view CPA and let's start selecting the topics. तो यहाँ पे ये 2022 edition की audit FAR सब है. चल audit खोल रहे हो, audit अभी चल रहा है, audit ही खोल लो. So let's look at one of our classes. Now we can play the class right here. इसको एक मिनट pause कर दो. And let's gotta pause. Let's scroll down. So when you select a class, let's scroll down. Why are we doing this? Oh, हमें क्या मजा आ रहा है audit करके? Scroll down and let me show you. This is where the topic books are also available. So ऐसा नहीं है कि books यही हैं. You also get hard books, and I'm going to show you them in a little bit of time. But let's say you're in the office, because again, we know most of the people that we have here in our webinar here today and in my class actually are working. So working audience, let's say you're taking out time during your commute from one place to the other, or you're studying in the office and you forgot to carry your books. Well, you have a source to look at the books, and our books are pre-highlighted with notes already made in them. So you see the blue highlighting and you see notes is made, silence is okay, silence is okay. These things are already added in. So it's sort of the hard work of making notes is already done. It's already done. And the important aspects of a topic are already explained in the notes by highlighting them in blue. Now, let's actually show them the class. Let's go into full screen mode, show everybody the class here. All right, let's start off with audit. Auditing क्या होती है? I'm sure on a certain level you guys know what auditing is because the word itself has meaning in English. Auditing is the art, the method with which we examine, or auditing is the examination of whatever the source subject is. So if I'm auditing my sales, so I'm auditing कि मेरी कितनी sales हुई है. Intention is कि आम आदमी आपकी कंपनी में इन्वेस्ट करने जा रहा, तो आपकी जो फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स हैं वो सही हैं, फेयरली प्रेजेंट करनी है, फैक्चुअल है इन नेचर. ये चीज किसी को तो पता नहीं पड़ेगी ना. और अगर ये क्लियर है तो एक और बेसिक फैक्ट पहले क्लियर करूंगा, फिर मैं गैस की तरफ बढ़ूंगा. मैं फिर आपको गैस. सो टी स्टैंड्स फॉर ट्रेनिंग एंड प्रोफिशिएंसी. ट्रेनिंग एंड प्रोफिशिएंसी. A stands for auditors independence. Lack of consistency. मतलब चेंज हुआ है बट मे बी बिकॉज दिए होंगे कंपनी ने, मतलब सारी कंसिस्टेंटली एप्लीकेशंस लगाई होंगी फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट की प्रिपरेशन में. All right, so you just saw a small snippet of our whiteboard classes. I didn't want to spend a lot of time in the class, वरना मतलब अभी टॉपिक समझने की कोशिश करते, and that would not have been useful because it's so small. But with that being said, you probably did get a look at what sort of classes we run. It's a whiteboard class where the faculty is standing, is available to you, and it's interactive. And abhi to hum randomly switch kar rahe the, but there are also shorts available on YouTube, etc., where you see people asking questions and we responding to those questions via voice. वो voice से पूछते हैं, हम voice से जवाब देते हैं. Other than this, we also do a OTB class. So first things first, जो अभी आपने whiteboard class देखी, that whiteboard class is done every Saturday and Sunday, and it's a 4-hour class that we do, which covers multiple topics. So the video that you saw would have been a smaller video because it only covered that one topic. ऐसे 3-4 videos we create. Now in that, in the whiteboard classes, we actually talk about the concepts. And we do this every Saturday, Sunday from 10:30 in the morning to 2:30. 10:30 to 2:30, हम इस काम में लगते हैं. But then beyond that, and I find a lot of other institutes just stop there. मतलब already बहुत लोग आपने देख ही लिया होगा कि वो they teach you with a PDF or a PPT, or they use a digital whiteboard, but they don't use a real interactive session. And they've got too many people in, so they don't answer any questions. So problem यही बनती है उस केस में that these folks will end up, giving you a very static, boring sort of a class. Ours is supposed to be interactive, but beyond that, not a lot of people, in fact, many of the institutes don't bother, but questions भी तो करवाने चाहिए, right? There should be questions that we get to solve. So this is a demo of चलो पार्थ की क्लास दिखा रहे हैं, पार्थ जवेरी की क्लास है ये. So Parth is one of our faculties, and let's start off from the very beginning there, where we actually discuss the questions. तो बस ये ठीक है, यहाँ चलने दो सर, and put me on mute.
See, yes, see, what does it say is that, see, no adjustment is necessary for the 4,000 of state corporate income tax refund, since they were included in the 1 lakh and reported operating income of.
So that's another example of a class that we give where we actually discuss the questions with you. तो क्वेश्चन पहले पार्थ पढ़ रहे थे उसमें, फिर वो आपको टाइम दे रहे थे कि आप रिस्पॉन्ड करो, आप देखो, आप बताओ आपको क्या लगता है, आंसर सोल्यूशन क्या है, एंड देन बेस्ड ऑन दैट वी वर टेलिंग यू कि आपने तो पोल कर दिया और ये बता दिया व्हाट इज द एक्चुअल आंसर and why is that the actual answer. That is the idea. So I also take up OTB classes similar to this, but for now I also want to show you a few more things. Are you noticing ये साइड में एक कॉलम बना हुआ है, ask your CPA query, और उसमें वो टेस्ट 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 लिखा, बिकॉज दिस इज मोहित तनेजा, द प्रोग्राम एडवाइजर दैट वी हैव, उसकी एक्सेस है. So he's obviously not studying with us, he's actually program advisor at EduMont, so we just did a small test. But that's the idea. Okay, you can actually, if you feel, you can go back to that page. Saurabh, you're actually running a little ahead of me. You can actually go back here, and in this you can see topic, page number or reference, and then ask your query. So you can actually ask queries in live chat right there in your test bank, in your LMS, with the idea कि यार अब मेरे को कोई डाउट आ रहा है तो वहीं डाल दो, ठीक है ना, वहीं डाल दो, and you can get a response. And then often a lot of people ask us these kind of questions, so we feel some of them are nice questions that everybody should know about. So then there is the forum that we've built in. Let's move into the forum there, and there we are. In the forum we've got a few questions that we feel are worthy of everybody's read, everybody's time, तो फिर वो questions हम यहाँ डाल देते हैं, question along with the answer, and that's our LMS that we offer. So you get two things here, you get the Wiley online test bank, and you also get our LMS. Let's move on out, go back to the PPT right there. So you can close this window. दिखाएंगे, बताऊंगा. Okay, so let's stick to this page, right? Now you just saw the 2x4 concept classes, right? 4 hours की दो Saturday Sunday को concept class where we teach you on a whiteboard. Then we also showed you how the 1 hour OTB session looks like. The third thing that we do here that is actually game changer is the last thing. That's a one-on-one game plan call. And remember I told you metric section में एक downloadable report है. What does that downloadable report do for me? Well, that's the report that I look at to tell you before you actually go pay the fee for an exam, because exams are not cheap. The CPA exams are pretty expensive. So before you end up paying that fee, we are supposed to get in touch with you We're supposed to tell you based on that report, boss, these are the topics you're doing well in, these are the topics you're not doing well in, these are the common mistakes you're making, and these are the things you have to avoid. And if needed, we'll also tell you, wait for 2 weeks, 2 हफ्ता रुक जाओ, then schedule your exam. या फिर we'll tell you, यार थोड़ी देर अभी hold करो, hold for a month, or we'll tell you, you're ready for the exam, go ahead, give it as soon as you can. Go give the exam because you are now in peak form and you should take up the exam as quickly as possible. That is the idea. Now if you want, sort of, we can show everybody a small demo of a game plan call. It's not going to make a lot of sense because everybody's got their own version. But let's take up one of my recent ones. Nikhil, I spoke day before yesterday with Shamshad. Let's take up one of those calls. Let's show everybody what that looks like. Hi, welcome to your game plan call. For the record, could you please state your full name?
Shamshad Mohammadi.
All right, Shamshad. What do you currently do? What is your employment status?
I'm not doing any job, just studying.
Okay, okay. And what all subjects have you studied with us so far?
I've just started audit.
Okay, makes sense.
Doing any job, just studying.
Okay, okay. And what all subjects have you studied with us so far?
I've just started audit.
We're doing here. Shamshad is not working. She's actually from Afghanistan. She's moved to India as a refugee and she's wanted to start her career here. But with that being said, she's actually not a student of EduMont straight up. She first enrolled with a different institute and she had a horrible experience there. And she paid the full fee there, but she didn't get much out of it. And then she ended up coming to EduMont. And now here's what she's talking about. Let's. Okay, makes sense. So based on the fact that you've just started audit, you're not going to be able to answer my next question, which was, what would you consider the most difficult subject? But I know you've got some experience with a previous institute, if we can call it that. And you have probably studied a few more subjects there as well. So best guess, what do you think is the toughest subject?
Actually, I haven't studied there like any subject. I just started FAR, but then it didn't go well. So a bit of FAR, and I think maybe FAR is the most difficult subject. Just I guess, I don't know.
So that's another thing that you should notice. She's saying she thinks FAR is the difficult subject here, the most difficult subject, because she had a bad experience in FAR. And that sort of thing can happen to anybody. If you've got a bad experience in a particular subject from a bad trainer, you'll end up feeling that particular subject is very difficult. Now let's move on a little ahead. I don't know exactly kahan pe hai, but she's also then said a few good things about us, a few kind words about us.
Very great.
Much better. You should start your evaluation. So, anyways, it's not something that happens overnight. In 2 to 3 days, in your email, you will receive the answer. You can reach out to much.
So I have to
abroad. And you get a little bit of relief in the sense that do catch up, complete the step 1 for it, do the same exam in India, and do continue with your classes for now. Okay, that's good to know. And if it is far for a fact, then in that case, we'll really not recommend giving an exam in a hurry right now.
It will be the solution for that. Share with you.
So move out of that screen. I'm on mute, right? Okay. So I think it's a waste of time trying to figure out where she rated us, what she rated us, because we're dhoondte reh jayenge, no point in that. But if you noticed, we were actually talking about the exam and the strategy for the exam, and how do you make sure that you are in the right phase. And if you noticed, she's only done one subject with us, audit, jo bhi currently chal raha hai. So that's the other thing. Once you join in, after about a month, agar mahina pura ho gaya, we'll sit with you on the game plan call first things first. Because we want to be able to connect with you personally and also want to be able to tell you that ek subject, ek mahina ho gaya, you're into the system. What are the next steps? What are the things that you should be aware of? And how should you prepare for the next few phases of your exam, and how do you get to that point where you feel confident enough to pay the fee and take up that particular exam? That's the game changing part here that we do. It doesn't sound like much, it's just a regular phone call, but it's the proactiveness that we show, the proactivity that we do, where we actually come to you and we tell you, okay, here's the game plan, here's what we're going to do, and let me see your preparation, show me what you've done. Is your preparation running in the right path? If it's not, I'll tell you how to take it there. This way you feel more in touch with us, and also you don't end up failing an exam because you don't feel left out. That's the idea. And you don't feel okay, you should give the exam with a lack of preparation because somebody's already checked it. Somebody's checked the level of your preparation and told you you are lacking or you're spot on. Whatever it is, koi check karne wala hai. That is the main thing. All right, let's move on to the next slide. Let's talk about your eligibility. Without wasting much of your time now, I want to talk about the actual operations of the CPA process. So if you're into the CPA preparation now, or you're looking to get into the CPA preparation, then there are a few things you need to be aware of. First things first is eligibility. Not anybody and everybody can come along and do their CPA. वो नहीं हो सकता. So you can't come from any background and hope you'll do a CPA. But you need 120 credits to take up your exam and 150 credits to take up your license. So to do your exam, 120 credits, iska kya matlab hai? What does this even mean? So for every year of university education that you take up, you get about 30 credits. But more importantly, for every subject that you study at a university level or beyond is worth 2.5 to 3 credits. Unless it's an upper level credit, then it would be worth as much as 5 to 7 credits. डिपेंड करता है किस लेवल का प्रेपरेशन था, मतलब किस लेवल का सब्जेक्ट था, किस लेवल का कोर्स था. Those sort of things matter. The syllabus of that particular course matters the most. But with that being said, if you're just a graduate, and I know majority of the audience is just graduates, तो आप सब लोग तो सोच रहे होगे यार 3 years of university education, that means I have only 90 credits. How do I get to 120? So don't worry, there is a exemption for folks who are from a commerce background. So if you've got 8 plus ABE, accounting, business and economics credits, then even with 90 total credits, you are eligible to take the exam. And you only need to complete the credits after passing the exam while applying for the license. For your license, you need 150 credits. So baat karunga is baare mein when I get to that slide. Abhi ke liye, let's talk about exam eligibility first. So for exam eligibility, folks who've got a master's degree, folks who've got a CA degree, folks who've got even a 1-year PG diploma are all good to go. You are all folks who are eligible. It's only the graduates that get stuck. And there's another small scam in the market that's running that you should be aware of. When you go to one of my competitors, actually, there's 3 competitors who are into this business. What will happen is they'll tell you to do a specific course. कोई कहेगा एमिटी यूनिवर्सिटी का कोर्स ही करो, कोई कहेगा जैन यूनिवर्सिटी का कोर्स ही करो. Somebody will sell you the IMA course, and all of these courses are pretty expensive. They're all running in the thousands, and they'll tell you यही कोर्स करना पड़ेगा, इसकी yearly fees इतनी है, you have to pay it and you have to do the 2 years. So the idea is, as a graduate, you will feel stuck. So Ranjit is asking me to repeat. So Ranjit, the idea is if you're just a graduate and you go to one of my competitors, they'll force you to do a specific course to be eligible. Even though there is clearly an exception rule here, which states that if you got 8 plus accounting, business, economics credits, which most graduates who've done a commerce graduation will have, and they will be eligible for the exam, they will still force you to do a course. And they'll sell you that course for about 30,000 to 50,000, depend karta. That's a yearly fee that you have to pay, and you'll be stuck with that course. But see, I just told you, people who got a postgraduate degree like an MCom, people who got an MBA, people who got a 1-year PG diploma, people who got a CA, CS, or even a CA inter, guys who got qualifications beyond that course essentially are also eligible. So फिर ऐसा क्यों है that you have to do that one course only that they are selling to you? That's the point. So you have to be very careful. They'll try and scam you and tell you कि यही course करो, and you'll end up paying the fee for it, and then there's no point. You could have done that same amount of credits, you could have gotten the same amount of credits at a fraction of the price. That's why at EduMont, if you're one of those graduates who don't have the required number of credits, you have to register for a program. We recommend government universities, and we're not tied up with any university. We're not in that business. See, we'll make our money by teaching you CPA. That's what we do. So we don't have to be in a situation where we, essentially force feed you a particular course. So Ravi is asking how long is the session going to last? Maybe another 15-20 minutes, no more than that. So it won't last very long. Bus last two slides रहेंगे, and then we'll move on to Q&A. Then we can talk. But the idea here is that they'll try and force feed a particular course to you, and you need to tell them, no, I'm not interested in this course. I want to do something else. I want to do anything else under the sun except this one course that are trying to sell me. Why? Because there genuinely are plenty of options that are much cheaper, that have a better track record, and will add more value to your CV. That's why at EduMont, we recommend you what you want, and we just simply vet the syllabus. So if, for example, you tell me, मेरे को MCOM नहीं करनी, I want to do something better like an MBA, fine. We'll find out what are the universities that are listed as NAC A, what are the universities that have a UGC approval, and from those universities, what kind of a course can you do? And then you can tell me this university is close to my home, I'm okay with this, I want to get an MBA from here. Fine, let's talk about it. Bring me their syllabus, I'm going to send it to the Wiley team, we're going to look at it, we're going to find out if this will meet your requirements. Now, if any of you want to get your eligibility checked, and you want to find out मेरे कितने credits हैं, how many credits do I have, am I eligible, am I not eligible, you want to find that out. No problem, send it to academics@edumontclasses.com. So somebody's asking, I'm a BCom graduate. Most BCom graduates will be eligible for exam. Although if you go to my competitors, they will force feed you a situation where they'll say यही course करना पड़ेगा, उसके बाद ही pass होगे, वरना नहीं होगे. So there will be that problem. But with that being said, if you're interested in getting your eligibility check, just send it to us and we will look at it, and we will send it to the US team, which is Chris and his team in the US, which is our Wiley partner team, and they will take a look at it, and then we'll come back to you. But the problem is my competitors can send you eligibility in about 20 minutes, faster than Domino's can send you pizza. But we will take about 24 hours because we have to send it to the US and they have to vet it and check it and send it back to us. The difference is when you show that kind of patience and you get an eligibility from us, that is the most reliable eligibility in the entire market because it's been checked by the Wiley team in the US. That's the idea. And those are the guys who are closest to the state boards. Those are the guys that have a lobby power with the state boards and have the ability to get you these things. Now, with that being said, let's move on to the next slide and talk about a license. So what you would realize is that you need 150 credits, especially side America, you need 150 credits to get a license. And I'm sure you're asking yourself, what is a CPA license? And do I really need a CPA license? So a license is like a certificate of practice. Same sort of thing as you have in CMA, hota na COP, which is essentially your membership with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. It's the same sort of thing. A license is essentially what makes you a CPA in the sense that it gives you your membership. But the difference is, Ishmeet ne pucha mere se yahan pe ek sawal. Ishmeet, I will respond to this when we get to Q&A. I will definitely respond to this question. Now, with that being said, here's the deal. You need a license because you need a membership with the body to claim that you are a CPA. So you would have found on LinkedIn a few folks talk about being a CPA, but bracket में उनको लिखना पड़ता है license awaited. So if you're somebody who's just cleared the 4 exams, you're eligible to go in the market and search for jobs. You're open to do that. But the thing is, you can't claim to be a full CPA just yet. Because to be a full CPA, you need to have your license. And now there is another problem because a license is given by a state. So now people start to talk about मेरे को कौन से state में जाना है. We are all naturally conditioned to think यार state एक state ही दे रही है, so then I want the best state. I want to go to California. I want to go to New York. Whatever your preference is, I don't know what your choices are, but you may want to figure that out and you want to say मैं यहाँ जाना चाहता हूँ. But let me tell you, there is zero repercussion on your career or your geographical location based on your state. There is zero impact on that. So it doesn't really matter if you got a license from Washington or California or New York. It doesn't matter. A person from New York can still work in California. A person from California can work in Washington. It doesn't matter. And you can work abroad and you can work in India. It doesn't matter. The point is, you all need at least one license, because without a license, you're not a member yet. Without a membership, you're not a full CPA yet. So here are 4 conditions that you need to meet, of which agar aap 3 bhi puri kar dete ho, I'll get you a license. Here are the 4 conditions. Number 1, you need at least 1 year of work experience. Now, this 1 year of work experience needs to be from the domain of FNA. But more importantly, this 1 year of experience needs to be verified by a CPA. And not just any CPA. It has to be a CPA who's held his license for more than 5 years. Because most states put that requirement. Most states say that the license, the signing CPA needs to have an active license for 5 years. 5 साल पुराना तो होना चाहिए minimum. So that's another problem. But again, if you go to an institute where the co-founder is not a CPA, where you don't have a CPA trainer, और ऐसी institutes हैं, शमशाद came from one of those institutes to us, जिसका game plan call दिखा रहे थे हम आपको, तो ये problem बन जाती है. Then how do I get this verified? Becomes a problem. And then NASBA has a service where they'll charge you about 60,000 rupees, and for 1 hour you will have an interview with a CPA who will then sign off on your experience letter. So you don't have to go through any of that hassle at EduMont, because I've actively held my license for more than 7 years now, and I can very well sign off on your experience letter, and I can verify it for you. Not a problem. But please note, I will verify it. ऐसी किसी भी चीज पे मैं sign नहीं कर दूंगा, because I've held my license for so long because of some integrity, and of course it's a hard work to get the CPA license and to then maintain it. So I'm not just going to throw it away. So I'm going to verify your work experience, which means I'm going to do background check on it. But with that being said, everything else is fine, and I'm open to it, and there is no fee that we're going to charge you for this small activity. It doesn't take much from my end. But with that being said, next up is education. You need 150 credits. That means on top of your graduation, you need at least a 2-year post-graduation degree. If you already have it, you have the 150. But if you don't have it, then after clearing your CPA exams, you have a period of 3 years in which you can apply for this. And in those 3 years, you should start with a distance program where you get your post-graduation degree. So you see, CPMA is not an easy process to get a license, because a minimum number of qualifications is still required. So not anybody can just become a CPA. What they try and tell you in their marketing videos कि बस ऐसे ही हो गया जी हमारा तो काम. 1 साल में 4 पेपर दिए and I got on a plane to the US. That's not how it works. You will require a certain amount of experience to get your license. You will require a certain amount of education. Last thing is the exams. The 4 CPA exams, you have to clear those. Otherwise, what is the point of a license? How will you even apply for a license? So you need to clear your 4 exams. You do these 3 things, I'll get you a license. I can promise you that much. But then you also have a 4th requirement, which is optional. इसलिए उसका E थोड़ा बाहर है, ethics. Now, many jurisdictions do require a separate ethics assessment, which is an open book ethics exam that you can take up from your home. आप अपने आप कर सकते हो, घर पे कर सकते हो. You can schedule it as per your want, and you can essentially attempt that same exam thrice. उसमें 3 attempt भी मिलते हैं. But if you are one of those people who says कि यार मैंने 4 एग्जाम दे दिए, मुझे 5वें की बात मत बताओ, no problem. Do the other 3 things, I'll still get you a license. Not at all a problem at all. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. So I see Sachin, you've put in a question. Sachin, I'm going to answer that question for you as soon as we get to that point. This is the second last slide. Last is fee. उसके बाद अपन खुल लें, फिर अपन आराम से आपस में बात करेंगे. You can come on the mic. I can tell you the answer that you're looking for, and we'll talk about it. Okay, what makes EduMont slightly different from everybody else, or majorly different from everybody else? This question needs to be answered by you, not me. But this is the take home that I want you to take away with you when you leave here today. There are 3 things that we do that only we do. Nobody else in India does. We have world-class study material from Wiley with access till you pass. Second thing we do is we provide live whiteboard classes. आपने देखा ना वो whiteboard पे पढ़ा रहे हैं. अगर ऑनलाइन पढ़ रहे हो, even with the institutes that are designed to show you कि इनकी बड़ी मस्त whiteboard classes हैं, are not actually doing that live. They just record it. So very few people actually have the technology to run a sort of class like this. And very few people want to take up the effort of running a class like this. Those 2 things are sort of, spoiling it for the rest of us. But don't worry, at EduMont, we do those classes diligently every week. And it's an interactive class. So जो physical class का benefit होता है, physical class का benefit यही है ना, that you can actually not just ask your doubts, but you can also hear the doubts of others. You can hear other people asking their doubts, and then you can judge them. You can say kya bewakoof wala question, or you can say that's a good question, even I want to find out. That benefit you still have at EduMont, despite it being an online model. And then the third thing is the preparation check we do, the game plan calls that we do. The fact that we don't let you just walk into the exam hall and then find out that paper kitna mushkil hai. We train you for it, we guide you to it, and then we mentor you to the process of making sure that you do your preparation fully before you go give the exam. That's the most important part. And lastly, when you do all of these three things together, you become a CPA in one attempt. And that's the point. That's the main point. All right, let's move on to the next slide, the last slide, where we're talking about the fees. And after this, we'll open for Q&A. So I see already chat में कुछ questions आ गए हैं, और भी डालते चलो, and I will respond to all of them as and one by one in order. Let's talk about the fees here. If you look at the total fees, it's about 3 lakh something, but I'll tell you the mota mati calculation is 3 lakh 50, because this is converted using 75 when it was 75. It's no longer 75. The dollar is now at 83 rupees roughly. So with that being said, it will make a few thousand rupees worth of difference. For every rupee, it will make a 2,686 rupee difference in your total calculations. A best guess estimate, and again, I'm an accounting professor, so accounting में बोलते हैं ना, be conservative. So conservative figure would be 350. But in the 3 lakh 50, if you look at the breakdown, the most expensive part is not the coaching, the training, the study materials. That's not at all expensive. The expensive part is the exam itself. So if you look at the category B expenses, the exam expenses are 2,18,610 bucks. जिसमें से 18,750 is the cost of the evaluation, यानी कि getting your Indian percentages converted into credits. वो 120, 150 credits, getting it converted, that costs about 18,750. After you take out 18,750 from 218, you're left with what? 2 lakhs. 2 lakhs is the cost of the exams, the 4 exams. Now you don't have to pay this all at once. ऐसा नहीं कि 2 लाख अभी दे देने. But the point is the 2 lakhs that you're paying get paid at each paper level, essentially. So once you select your first paper, इसको 4 हिस्सों में तोड़ दें, it's about 50,000. Once you're appearing for your first paper, you pay 50,000. Once you're appearing for the second paper, you pay another 50. That's how it goes. So it's not supposed to be paid all at once, but at the same time, each exam is worth 50,000 rupees. So it's not at all cheap. And that's why you can't afford to fail it. Because I know no matter who you are, it's pretty expensive. No matter how rich or poor you may be, 50,000 is something that hurts everybody. With that being said, our fee, the EduMont fee, is 1,24,320 bucks, which is subject to certain discounts as well, because India में कुछ discount के बिना नहीं बिकता. But at the same time, we also offer one more facility, which is a no-cost facility. So you have a no-cost EMI facility where you don't have to pay any interest on the amount at all. EduMont will bear that interest for you, and you can pay in installments of up to 9 months. Up to 9 months. So the idea is you pay for the training as you consume the training. It's sort of matching with that timeline. That is the beauty of it. Now, with that being said, if you compare us with the rest of the final remarks, please kar do, Saurabh, the final remarks are here. Just feel free to provide us with a little bit of your feedback. Let us know how you found the session, and I'll open up for Q&A. Before I do that, there's one more thing I want to talk to you about, which is that if you compare us with others in the market, you'll find जो सबसे सस्ते हैं players that are providing local materials, their own self-developed materials, those guys are cheaper, but not by a lot, not by a lot. 10 से 15,000 का फर्क होगा. And I want you to, at that point in time, when you're tempted to buy that cheap material, I want you to remember each exam is worth 50,000. The opportunity cost of failing an exam is worth 3 times the difference in price. So be smart, don't be penny wise and pound foolish. Be smart enough to know कि ये छोटा मोटा अमाउंट बचाने के चक्कर में बड़ा नुकसान नहीं होना चाहिए. That is the idea. Okay, just go ahead, fill in the poll results right here, and once you're done, let's open up for Q&A. Do we have the results though? Let them do the poll first. Shanti se sab poll bhar dena. फिर हम Q&A खोलते हैं. And folks, please give us your brutal feedback. Give us your absolute, brutal, honest feedback, because that will help us the most. Done? Achha. So as soon as you're done with the feedback right here, we'll open up for Q&A and I'll answer all your questions. And we're just waiting on a few people, right? Most of them would have already responded by now. Have they? 75% of you have already responded. So जो बाकी लोग रह गए हैं थोड़े बहुत, please can you tell me that? हाँ जी Ishmeet, I will absolutely answer this question. What is the difference, the big difference between Wiley and Becker? Because I'm sure Becker's is a name that you would be hearing a lot on social media, and you would be feeling naturally कि यार ये अच्छा material है. So then should I go with that or should I go with Wiley? By the way, Ishmeet, I'll tell you one more thing. Many of my students actually have Beckers. So not everybody who comes to us buys the Wiley. Some people are hell-bent on buying the Beckers, they buy it, but they still get training from us. In the sense that they go to a different provider, pay the full fee there, then they realize ये गलती होगी शायद हमसे. Material तो Becker का मिल गया ना लेकिन. So I don't charge them again for the material. I say use your material, stay with the material, I'll help you with the rest of it. So I've got more than a few students who go through this. So if you want, I'll be happy to connect you with a few of them. जिन्होंने material खरीदा Beckers का, Beckers के provider से, पर बात नहीं बनी. क्योंकि सिर्फ material से बात नहीं बनती ना, training वगैरह everything counts. Okay, done? Are we done, Saurabh? Okay, done. If we're done, तो फिर इसको थोड़ा अभी close मत करो, चाहे side कर लो. जो लोग रह गए वो भी भर पाएंगे इसको बाद में. But let's actually open up for Q&A. So let's start off with the first question right there. Without Indian CA, could CPA be useful in India and Malaysia? Yes, absolutely. Who asked this question? Acha, I have an anonymous question here with no name. Without a CA, am I useful? Absolutely. As a CPA, you're useful not just in India and Middle East, you're useful around the world. So again, the idea, and I'm sorry if I wasn't able to explain this to you well enough, but the point is, all the major brands that you can think of, for example, Amazon ki agar hum baat kare, they need a CPA not just in the US, they need a CPA in India as well. That's the whole point. Okay, opportunities exist in India for this very reason, that all these international brands, not just American, international brands that are listed on NYSE, no matter where they open their office, they need a CPA there. Because the local accounting needs to be converted into US accounting. Their rupees need to be converted into dollars. Translation and remeasurement needs to occur there. So all of these things, all of these job activities can only be done by a CPA. So as a result, India mein aaj ki tarik mein as a CPA, if you're a fresher with no experience, you can get placed at 8 to 10 lakhs. License nahi hai, 8 lakh ke aaspas. License hai, 10 lakh. That is the idea. You get placed at that level already. And the beauty of it is, agar aap notice karo, this is the same salary that a fresher CA gets. अगर सीए करके सीपीए करते हो तो फ्रेशर तो हो नहीं, सीए करने में ही 5 साल लगे होंगे, फिर नौकरी की होगी, फिर सीपीए कर रहे हो, योर एक्सपीरियंस. But a fresher CA gets placed at about 8 to 10 lakhs, same sort of thing. So you get the same pay scale, you get the same prestige, and again CPA is the same sort of thing. You can put it next to your name. जैसे मैं बोलता हूँ, I'm Rohan Chopra, CPA, CA में. So my name, my business card, everything reads like that. Even my LinkedIn profile reads Rohan Chopra, CPA, CA में. That's the idea there. So of course you're useful, and I hope that answered your question, Mr. Anonymous or Miss Anonymous, whoever you are. Acha, okay, that was probably Naman's question. Okay, yeah, go ahead, Naman. We see you raised hand, so we'll allow you to talk. Go ahead, unmute yourself, and then we can talk.
Hello, am I audible, sir?
Done. Resolved. Okay, Naman, you're not audible to us just yet. Could be down to the fact that you're muted. If you could unmute yourself.
Sir, am I audible now?
Let's move on to the next question for now, and we'll come back to Naman. Okay, Mr. Sharad, you've raised hand. Let's allow you to talk. Mr. Sharad, just unmute yourself and let us know your question. We're not able to hear them. एक बार हमारा ऑडियो भी चेक कर लो सोर्स. We're good? I can hear it. So we're not able to hear Mr. Sharad. Mr. Sharad, just unmute yourself and ask your question. It's that simple. नहीं तो मेरे को वैसे पढ़ दो जो क्वेश्चन है, मैं वो आंसर कर दूं तब तक. After completing my CPA, what are the career opportunities in Middle East? Okay, no one has asked a question. After completing my CPA, what are the career opportunities that exist for me in the Middle East? So again, there are 4 core areas that I spoke about. These are also the 4 subjects that you studied. So subjects कौन से होंगे? Auditing. You can get into auditing, international auditing, or you can get into accounting and reporting. इसका एक subdivision है financial planning and analysis, similar sort of thing. You can get into that, or you could get into what we call taxation. If that is something that pleases you, you can get into a tax role. Or if you don't like tax, if you don't like accounting, you don't like auditing, then consultancy. And especially if you got an MBA along with it, so MBA plus CPA, very well suited for a consultancy job role. And then consultancy, there are multiple scopes, multiple choices. You can get to process consultancy, transaction advisory, or if you get really that sort of an opportunity, and you should really grab it if you do, management consultancy. That's another very high paying job. That's that 7-figure job that you're all dreaming about. And CPAs are the ones who fill up those job roles. So you're welcome to take up that role as well. All of these exist in these areas. That is the idea. And again, to answer your question, you could go with the NYSE listed company there, or you could go with a local company from Dubai, from UAE, for example, that would suit your requirements. Both of these would be open. So I've personally seen a few of my alumni get placed in Emirates. Emirates is an airline company from UAE, but Emirates is a company that does its accounting on the basis of US GAAP. So उनको CPA चाहिए रहते हैं for their accounting purposes. So accountant का job role है, but with Emirates and in UAE. That's the key difference. So Sachin asked, working for an MNC bank, CFA or CPA, which would be better since I'm into investment banking? What's the both are actually very good. Both of these would work very well for you. Honestly speaking, CFA आप देख रहे होगे अपने आसपास बहुत लोगों के पास होगी. So how will you elevate yourself a level above from everybody else? How will you add that level of prestige beyond what your peers have already achieved? So I think CPA would actually help you stand out a little bit from that crowd. That would be the benefit of it. So both these qualifications are good fit, sir. If you're into investment banking, I already have another student from investment banking joined in last month. Makes a lot of sense. Makes just a lot of sense to do your CPA. Nimisha is asking how much time will it take to complete CPA, and also how many people are doing CPA so that I can get an idea regarding competition. Absolutely, absolutely. So in India, about 30,000 people enroll for CPA yearly. 30,000 banda enroll karta hai, and only a third of them actually become CPAs. So it's actually not a very, very large number. Even though the global pass percentage is about 50%, India actually experiences a slightly lower pass percentage. And it's down to the fact that there are so many institutes out there that are misguiding, misleading, that only अपना पैसा बनाओ आगे बढ़ो, वो philosophy है बहुत ज़्यादा लोगों की. So people do get misled. People do take a longer amount of time to clear their CPAs. But yeah, it's not as competitive as CAs, for example. ऐसा नहीं कि 5 लाख बंदा enroll कर रहा है, register कर रहा है, और 5,000 बंदा ही pass out हो रहा है. It's not that drastic. A third of the people do still pass out. So that's the beauty of it. The second question you asked, or actually the first question you asked, this was the second one. The first one you asked was, how much time does it take to become a CPA? So if you're working, and who asked this question, sorry? Nimisha, if you're a working professional right now and you're working, then you should take up a timeline of 12 to 18 months. इतना time आपको लेके चलना चाहिए. 12 to 18 months. And इसमें I'm assuming you're able to give out 2 hours every day. If you're one of those folks जिनका दिन का 2 घंटे का भी पक्का नहीं है, it can take upwards of 18 months, up to 24 months. ये problem है. So if you can put out 2 hours on a daily basis, then I can give a good enough estimate of 12 to 18 months के बीच में कहीं हो जाएगा. 13-14 महीने में बात बन जाएगी. That is the idea. Megna said that minimum how many hours to study for clearing CPA, and if I can pass CPA if I'm doing job. So, Meghna, actually, lots and lots of people that do end up doing CPA are folks who are already working. और आपने नोटिस किया होगा आज भी क्राउड जो है बाय एंड लार्ज वर्किंग ही होता है. It's not like that कि full time students ये काम करें. So Shamshad is actually a rare case, and she's waiting to do her CPA to get into job anyway. So everybody is sort of in that domain or moving into that place कि job करनी है. So lots and lots of people do it with their job. And if that is the case, you're also one of those people who are doing it with their job, then I suggest at least 2 hours on a daily basis. And then along with the training that we provide, then in about 12 to 18 months, you will be able to clear your CPA. That is the case. So I don't want you to be misled. I know market mein there are people who are talking about 6 months mein CPA complete ho jati hai. The thing is, what they're telling you is 6 months mein unki training complete ho jati hai. Doesn't mean आपके पेपर निकल जाते हैं चारों. ठीक है ना? So don't be misled. This is all marketing that they do. Is marketing words के साथ खेलना. This is playing with the words is what they're doing when they try and tell you कि 6 months में हो जाता है. हाँ, 6 months में training complete हो जाती है. I agree with that. हमारे यहाँ भी it takes 6.5 months to complete the training. But then after the training is done, you have to do self-study, and you're supposed to put in a similar amount of time in your self-study. So 12 to 18 months is the actual time it takes. And is there a time limit to clear all exams in 18 months? So, Ishmeet, there is no time limit as such as to when you need to clear them, but there is a time limit that gets affected once you clear the first exam. So, once you clear your first exam, you actually have 18 months to clear the other 3 exams. And this sort of informs our study strategy as well. This is why I tell people कि आप एक बार चारों सब्जेक्ट पढ़ के identify कर लो which is your most difficult exam. Which is the most difficult exam for you individually, and you give that first ताकि जो बाकी 3 हैं are reasonably easier. So it's not an uphill battle कि मैंने सबसे आसान पेपर पहले दे दिया बाकी सब तो इससे मुश्किल है. It's actually a downward stroll where you know ठीक है यार, not a problem, अपन उतर जाएंगे बड़ी आराम से. मुश्किल वाला दे चुके हैं, बाकी 3 हम निकल जाएंगे. That's the idea. So 18 months after you clear the first exam, वरना कोई time limit नहीं है. Otherwise there is nothing to it. Doesn't matter from the date of enrollment or whatever. None of those things matter. Only from the date of clearing your first exam does this limit apply. Naman asked, what would be the better option for me, ACCA or CPA? I'm working profession, working in APAR domain. APAR, accounts payable, accounts receivable. APAR में हो, आपके लिए दोनों अच्छी हैं, but you should now look at what gives more return and at what time. मैं एक चीज आपको क्लियर कर दूं, मार्केट में ये किसी की बातों में मत आना कि ACCA की सैलरी ज्यादा है या CPA की सैलरी ज्यादा है. सेम है. ACCA, CPA, CA, if you only have one qualification, is the same level. Everybody gets paid on the same pay scale. Pay scale का point ही होता है. But now you should be asking yourself this question कि मेरे को ACCA करने में कितने एग्जाम देने पड़ेंगे, and how many years will it take for me to do ACCA? Vis-a-vis how many years will it take for me to do my CPA? And then also keep into account, ये आप बताओगे, मैं नहीं बता सकता नंबर. I can't take these decisions for you obviously ना, आप ही बता पाओगे. But then you should also have this one thing on your mind कि which will give me more opportunities. And since CPA has more global tie-ups and more global recognition, is more likely to yield in higher results. It's more likely to yield in more opportunities. So that's my recommendation. But again, I'm a very biased individual क्योंकि मैंने खुद CPA की हुई है, तो मैं आपको भी वही recommend करूंगा. But the reality of it is also very similar. मैंने खुद भी CPA इसीलिए की थी. ACCA का option ऐसा नहीं था कि मेरे टाइम पे नहीं exist करता था. But I figured out that the largest economy is the US. This is a slightly lesser time-taking course and has more result. That's the idea.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. Hi.
Sir, I have a question that sir, I have a connected with Grant Thornton. They actually suggested me that I should go with the ACCA because they could help me get internship at Grant Thornton. That the Grant Thornton is also a consulting firm. So could you please suggest me and guide me through this because I am
इंटर्नशिप के लालच पे क्या करियर बना लोगे? ये तो बहुत ही छोटी चीज है जो उसने आपको, सेल्स वाले ने आपको लालच दे दिया, ये और कुछ नहीं है. और ग्रैंड थॉर्टन के किसी डायरेक्टर ने नहीं आपसे ये कहा, ये आपसे किसी सेल्स वाले ने कहा है कि आपको इंटर्नशिप चला देंगे. वो क्या हो गया? इंटर्नशिप तो किसी को भी मिल जाती है. इंटर्नशिप थोड़ी करनी है, तो करियर बनाकर नौकरी करनी है. ये मेन पॉइंट है. तो फिर व्हाई गेट वरीड विद.
Thank you, sir. All done, sir. All doubts are cleared now. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Dinisha, I don't have accounting experience. I'm an account lecturer. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. You're also co-faculty, huh, Nimisha? You're a faculty, so I understand where you're coming from. Actually, as it happens to be, उन्होंने ये पूछा था मेरे को जहाँ तक याद आ रहा है, from what I read on the screen, कि will this affect my license and all? So work experience जो है ना उसके अंदर it's a vast domain actually. FNA की domain से होना चाहिए. So work experience में academic experience counts. So if you got 1 year of teaching experience and you're a lecturer for a year, must है चलेगा. That counts. In fact, I've got more than a few people who are already lecturers, just like you are, who are in the academic domain, who are shifting now and wanting to build a corporate career, so that they're doing their CPA. So I've पिछली class में अभी बिस्वा sir है, he's also a lecturer, so same situation है, and I totally relate with it. And yes, your experience is valid. Don't be worried at all. This is valid experience, and it's a very noble profession that you've chosen. So don't be worried at all. Absolutely counts. जी, ए इश्मीत का सवाल रह गया यार तब से. That's probably what he's asking कि भाई while you're becker में क्या फर्क है? Is that it? Ishmeet, go ahead, let's talk. Hi buddy. We've allowed you to talk. Just unmute yourself and you can ask your question just like.
Hi sir, am I audible?
Hi. Yes, you are.
So I just really want to add that you said we can get into IB after doing CPA, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
We can get into
IB, investment banking.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So according to my experience, there are a lot of students get into auditing and taxations, and very few get into IB.
ये तो होता है.
This is the scenario, right?
हाँ, ये तो होता ही है. Agreed.
So
Not
can you
just
tell me what is the percentage that get into IB?
मैं बताता हूँ. And any high paying job in general ना, for example even management consultancy, you will find only a small number of people really get placed in there. ये होता है आमतौर पे. जो बल्क होता है is for lesser paying jobs for lower profiles. आमतौर पे ये होता है. So I don't know the exact number. ऐसे तो all India data मेरे पास नहीं होगा यार. So I don't want to give you any random number, but my best guess estimate would be or 5 to 7% लोग ही होंगे out of the 100% people that pass and become CPAs who actually get into IB. Because you have to be cut from a certain cloth. That's the point. और इसीलिए मेरे को ये placement guarantee वाले जो बंदे हैं ना, इनसे चिढ़ मचती है. You can't guarantee these things. Yeah. How can I guarantee how you will perform in the interview room? How can I do that? I can't do that. No? It depends entirely on you. I can help you achieve your dream, your qualification, but I can't then go ahead and pressurize the company to hire you. That is not something I can do or anybody can do. Let me be frank. I hope that answers your question, buddy.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
Ravita asked, why only US CPA? Why can't CPA Australia or other CPA? What are the MRA vice versa? As we have only discussed in a slide from US CPA.
Correct. सही पूछो सर आप. So अभी किसने पूछा सवाल? रवि सर पूछ रहे हैं why only अपना US CPA has so many MRAs? Australian CPA के भी तो MRA हैं. So first thing first that you have to understand, sir, is a mutual recognition agreement, right? So it's mutual. It's not just कि US का Australia के साथ है ये और Australia is powerless. It's mutual. दोनों का है. But of course, I'm not trying to promote US CPA over Australian CPA because of the fact that I am a US CPA and that's what EduMont teaches. It's also down to the fact that you will find Australian CPA is not as widely recognized. It's just not. Because the Australian economy is a big economy. I don't disagree with that. But it's definitely not the world's largest economy. So जितने MRA US के होंगे उतने ऑस्ट्रेलिया के नहीं होंगे. US is providing aid and is providing trade and is providing benefit to a lot of economies around the world. So their bodies, their professional bodies have much more sway in the world than anybody else does. तभी तो सर आप देख रहे हो कि मतलब एक एग्जाम के MRA हैं. हमारे भी तो MRA इंडिया में ICAI के. वो क्यों 4-4, 8-8 पेपर देने पड़ते हैं? It's about global standing also ना. आप इंडिया से हो, ऑस्ट्रेलिया को मत बताओ कैसे चलना है. ये बात होती है. And if it's the US, वो तो this is what they do. This is what they do. They tell the world how to run themselves. They are the police of the world, and that's down to the size of their economy. So I hope that answers your question, sir. Baki, if you want to know the exact detail of how many MRAs CP Australia does, then I suggest you should go to an institute that deals in CP Australia. they will be the right people to tell you Australia की CPA कितने हैं हमारे हैं. But what I can tell you is we're not in the business of CPA Australia for a reason, and that reason is CPA US is the main CPA around the world. And आप online भी search करेंगे आपको ये verdict कई लोग बताते मिल जाएंगे कि it's the main thing. The main CPA designation around the world is the American CPA. And I just gave you the reason for it. It's simply, economic size. That's the idea. Economic power. That makes a difference.
Maybe if we can't pass, if we can't pass my first attempt in first attempt, how many attempts can we attend the same exam again?
So there is no limit as to the number of attempts you can give. But the point is, Meghna ma'am, if you can't pass it in the first attempt, then you're probably not an EduMont student. But if you're an EduMont student, it's not possible to not pass it in the first attempt, because before you pay your fee, before you schedule your exam, we will check your preparation. एंड घूम फिर के बात नहीं आती मैम, पेपर पास करने के लिए प्रिपरेशन लगती है. वो प्रिपरेशन अगर कंप्लीट है तो पेपर पास होगा ना, फिर क्यों नहीं होगा? ये वाला सिचुएशन है. हाँ, अनफॉर्चुनेट इवेंट्स हैपन. समटाइम्स लाइफ डज गिव यू लेमन्स. ये हो जाता है. So small percentage of people may end up going through this process where despite their best efforts, despite the best preparation they could have done, they're not able to clear the exam. ये हो जाता है. तो उस केस में ऐसा कोई लिमिट नहीं है कि कितने अटेम्प्ट दे सकते हो, आप कितने भी दे सकते हो. But again, our intention as an institute is to be very clear कि यार एक अटेम्प्ट में करवाना है. हम आप पे भी यही प्रेशर बनाएंगे और खुद पे भी. And we will work towards that. That is the idea. और बताओ. नहीं, इसमें ना तो बेकर महंगा है, ना बेकर बेटर है, और ना बेकर खास है. 5 कंपनी है, मैंने पता है आपको. इसमें से हमने टाई अप वाइली के साथ इसीलिए किया क्योंकि ये थोड़ा किफायती जरूर पड़ता है. इन द सेंस दैट इट इज एक्सेस टिल यू पास. इट्स अनलिमिटेड एक्सेस. तो मान लो यार इसमें आपको 2 साल लग गए करने में, तो 2 साल लग गए तो कोई दिक्कत नहीं है इसमें. यू डोंट हैव टू कीप पेइंग. But in a Becker system, the problem is I will, as an institute, have to come to you and say कि 1.5 साल में मटेरियल एक्सपायर हो गया था, now pay me. I am not comfortable doing that, यार. We are as an institute not comfortable doing that. We don't want to. Even our products are access till you pass. Commitment होता है, वो उसका मतलब ही ये होता है कि it's a commitment that I'm going to help you achieve this degree, and when I'm going to help you achieve this degree, then the idea is you will do it, or I'll keep working at it. ये नहीं होना चाहिए कि अब तो टाइम अप हो गया. Time up, pay me more. That's not something that I like to do. That's not something that EduMont likes to do. That's the reason we are not partnered with Beckers. But with that being said, मैं ये नहीं कहूँगा कि Beckers वाइली से inferior है, और ना मैं ये मानूंगा कभी कि वाइली से superior है. क्यों? पूछो क्यों? क्योंकि मैंने as a student वाइली से पढ़कर CPA दिया था, और as a professional teacher before I started EduMont मैंने Beckers पढ़ा रखा है. I got the exposure to teach Beckers as well. तो आई नो एग्जैक्टली क्या है किसमें, और ऐसा कुछ खास अलग नहीं है, और हो नहीं सकता ना बॉस. अगर वो खास होता तो वो सुपीरियर अप्रूव्ड प्रोवाइडर बन जाता, कुछ तो उसका लेवल अप हो जाता, बट इट्स एट द सेम लेवल एज एवरीबॉडी एल्स. तो बस ये फर्क है कि किसी की मार्केटिंग ज्यादा अच्छी है, किसी के फीचर ज्यादा अच्छे हैं, एंड वी एज अ प्रोवाइडर हैव टू फिगर दैट आउट फॉर आवर स्टूडेंट्स एंड टेक अ कॉल ऑन इट कि व्हाट आर वी ट्राइंग टू गिव आवर स्टूडेंट्स. आर वी ट्राइंग टू गिव देम ओनली मार्केटिंग, or are we trying to give them substance and better facility? We chose Wiley for that very reason, and I hope that answers your question now, buddy. Becker और वाइली की कहानी अब आपको कुछ हद तक शॉर्ट हो गई होगी, अगर हमारी बात पे कुछ भरोसा है तो. Mergers and acquisitions, amazing. I'm not able to find which certificate will help you to get this data. तो इसके लिए तो यार CA जैसी चीज और CPA जैसी चीज ही होती है. There are no other, मतलब ACCA भी होती है, but you have to have an accounting designation of this level. इसके अलावा तो और कुछ नहीं होता. You can't go and work in M&A with a MBA degree only. CA, CPA, ACCA इस लेवल की डिग्री लेनी पड़ती है. इसके अलावा कोई और चॉइस नहीं होती. You have to have a professional accounting designation जो नाम के आगे लगे, फिर ही बात बनती है. इससे एक नीचे चले जाओगे तो भी बात नहीं बनेगी. For example, if you go for a CMA degree, which is a slightly lower qualification than CPAs, even Indian CMA और US CMA, दोनों, उससे भी बात नहीं बनेगी. उसके बाद भी आपको कॉल नहीं आने लगेंगे, आपको कॉल बैक्स नहीं आएंगे. You have to have the pinnacle designation. ये तो मिनिमम रिक्वायरमेंट होती है. ओके सो मेगा आई होप दैट गॉट क्लैरिफाइड कि भाई लाइव क्लासेस तो हर बार होती हैं, ऐसा नहीं कि नहीं होती. एवरी क्लास वी गिव इज लाइव बट ऑल्सो रिकॉर्ड हो जाती है, बिकॉज इफ इन केस यू मिस समथिंग, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए ना कि मिस हो गई तो अब सब्जेक्ट खराब हो गया. You have the option of a backup. That's the advantage of an online class. But every class we take is a live class. We don't give recorded classes as such. Recorded are available to you with the idea of they're a backup. I don't want you to not enjoy the benefit of a live class. And the benefit of a live class is you can interact. जैसे अभी लोग सवाल पूछ रहे हैं, चैट पे पूछ रहे हैं, कोई माइक पे पूछ रहे हैं, ये चीज अच्छी है. ये चीज is the main benefit of a live class. So we provide that in every of our classes. The schedule is as such that Saturday, Sunday we do 4-hour classes, and on Tuesday and on Thursday we do 1-hour class. So why Tuesday and Thursday 1-hour class? Because the idea is the working professional सारे लोग तो दिन में तो मिलेंगे नहीं, तो रात को 10 से 11 हम करते हैं ये. तो रात को 10 से 11 1 घंटा. एंड द बेनिफिट ऑफ दिस इज कि मंडे को क्लास नहीं है, छुट्टी है, बट ट्यूसडे को है. वेडनेसडे को क्लास नहीं है, छुट्टी है, बट थर्सडे को है. फ्राइडे को क्लास नहीं, छुट्टी है, बट सैटरडे को है. So that's the advantage of it. We're connected with you all the week, throughout the week. That's the idea. यहाँ मेरे सामने चैट में दिख रहा है, निमिषा ने पूछा how many students in a batch. So we actually have open 35 seats and about 15 seats closed. Open और closed में क्या फर्क है? So some people from the previous batches will continue onward with their preparation. They might be visiting the second time. तो 15 लोग पुरानी सीट्स के लिए ब्लॉक करके रखते हैं, and 35 for in every batch for new enrollments, fresh enrollments. That's the idea. So about 50 folks in a class. इसके ऊपर नहीं हम जाने देते. 50 पार हो जाएगा तो आम क्लासरूम का साइज पार कर गई, फिर दिक्कत होने लगती है. और बताओ, any other questions from anybody? All done? Really? All done? चलो, excellent. That's good. If you got any other questions, please let me know. I'll be happy to answer. And आगे. So we start a new batch every month. That's the idea. But we start a parallel batch. ऐसा नहीं होता. जैसे अभी for example auditing है, तो वो 1.5 महीना चलता है. That's a subject that goes for month and a half. तो auditing चले जा रहा है, उसमें और लोग नहीं डाल देंगे, वो चलता रहेगा, वो parallelly चलेगा. उसके साथ हम back start कर रहे हैं. तो back is a parallel batch. So the idea is we start a parallel batch every month, but we wouldn't put the same folks in it all the time, or we wouldn't put new folks in the old class. वो नहीं करते अपन. वो हमारे यहाँ नहीं होता. No, all on whiteboard. It's everything whiteboard. So your books. So the good thing is you got ये पीछे देख रहे होंगे 2 books. एक वाइली की बुक है हार्ड बुक, एक हमारी है. So the good thing is you focus on the book and you also have the teacher in front of you. It's just like a regular class. जैसे आप स्कूल में, कॉलेज में हर जगह पढ़ते आए हो, बिल्कुल वैसे ही चलता है. The only difference is now you don't have to travel. It's all on the PC. That's the benefit of it. No. You can take your time. And the whole point is people do take their time. Ravi sir का सवाल है नहीं, मेरे को दिखा दी चैट में. रवि सर ये यही तो पॉइंट है. People do take their time. पढ़ने शुरू करने के बाद sometimes people take 6, 8, 10 months of training, continuous training. फिर जाके पहले पेपर की तैयारी करते हैं. And this is why when somebody comes along with the Beckers and says ये तो 18 महीने वैलिड है, that is the whole problem with it ना. वो 18 महीने तो बीत जाएंगे, फिर क्या करेंगे हम? That is exactly why you can take your time. We have access till you pass. The material doesn't expire. It gets updated. Classes keep on getting updated. Everything is good in that sense. You can take your time and do it as per your speed. जल्दी नहीं मचा रहा मैं. मेरे को जल्दी मचाने का कोई पॉइंट नहीं है. हाँ, ये जरूर होता है, एक बार मुझे दिख जाता है student is in the form. Their preparation is at that point where they're doing well. Then I actually encourage people कि जाओ एग्जाम दो जल्द से जल्द before you break that form. वो अलग चीज है. हाँ, absolutely. So if you have noticed, एक तो LMS में chat column है, but also you can email your queries. Also you can WhatsApp your queries. Also if you feel the need, you can get on a video call. You can get on a Zoom video call. So that's another added advantage. हमारे यहाँ पे ना वो system नहीं है कि faculty is only available at this time and only this faculty will answer your questions. There's 8 faculties across EduMont. Some of them don't give any classes. Their only job is query resolution. So that's the beauty of it. कि we've got dedicated query resolution का ऊपर काम होता है. That's the point. Yes, they are possible if you are in our geographical region. We are based out of Delhi. सो इफ यू आर इन दिल्ली तो आप आ सकते हो, ऑफिस आ जाओ, मिल लो मेरे से, आई डोंट माइंड इट, मेरे से क्या किसी से भी मिलना मिल लो. But with that being said, not everybody will be able to travel to Delhi, right? Especially if you're from Mumbai or you're from Pune or from Bangalore, then it's not possible for you. That's the idea. But if you are capable of, you are in the position to make a travel to us, Ajo, I am happy to give you a face-to-face lecture also on your doubts. And some students do actually take that advantage.
So, accounting profile practical to target my VP at my current organization. So this profile is like uniform, it's good, but at the same time it's not enough.
So नमन, ये आपके जो वीपी ने आपको कहा है कि इट्स लाइक अ यूनिकॉर्न, वो साहब मेरे ख्याल एमएनए में काम नहीं किया, उन्होंने किसी और चीज में काम, आपकी डोमेन में काम करते हैं, तो कभी कभी लगता है अंगूर खट्टे हैं वो वाली बात है. एंड एट द सेम टाइम व्हाई नॉट सेट अ बिग टारगेट यार, व्हाई नॉट हैव अ टारगेट दैट आई डू वांट टू डू एमएनए. व्हाई से मैं तो हार गया, मैं उस चीज में एग्री नहीं करता है. मैंने तो जब भी सपना देखा बड़ा ही देखा. EduMont भी इसी उम्मीद से खोला था कि we will become, and we will, I promise you we will become India's largest. That's the point. And not just in student size but in pass rate as well. सपना तो बड़ा ही देखना चाहिए, छोटा देखने को फायदा नहीं है. और बताओ.
You have any CA or CPA designated members certified data scientist? CPA or CA get any advantage with the certification in their ability?
So honestly, sir, we don't offer any data science programs, but I know it's a big thing that's coming up, and we don't offer it because we're not in that business at all. We're in a accounting and related products ka business. That's down to the fact that I'm at the help, and I like these designations. मैंने खुद भी की हुई है, तो I know they add value. But the point is, after doing your CPA, if you want to get into data science, I'm sure you can. And I'm sure you will get a distinct advantage there, because data science is about handling data, I agree, but having an expertise beyond that is what will set you apart. जैसे अभी कोई पूछा था सर, इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकिंग का मैं काम करता हूँ और सीएफए और सीपीए दोनों हैं, तो मैं कैसे आगे बढ़ूं? तो अब सीएफए तो सभी कर रहे हैं ना, सभी सीएफए करने में लगे होंगे, उनके ऑफिस में आधे से ज्यादा लोग इसी काम में पड़े होंगे, सीएफए की कोचिंग कौन सी अच्छी है उसको ढूंढ रहे होंगे. तो भीड़ में ही रहोगे तो फिर वो तो ऑप्शन होता ही है हमेशा लाइफ में, भीड़ चाल तो है ही है, बट यू सपोज टू ट्राई एंड स्टैंड आउट द क्राउड. दैट्स द पॉइंट. सो एडिंग डेटा साइंस टू योर नेम विल एड लॉट ऑफ वैल्यू, and adding data science after your CPA will not just make you a different CPA, it will make you a different data scientist. That's the beauty of it. You're a data scientist who understands accounting. So accounting data के ऊपर जब काम करोगे, you will understand where it's coming from. That's the beauty of it. Done? All done? Wonderful. Any other questions from anybody? Feel free to let me know. And if not, then I'll see you again soon. If it shall so be. If not, then that's fine as well. No, not so. So what you need is about 2 hours of self-study that I recommend that you should do. Itna karna chahiye. And you should try and do this with consistency. But it's not 5 to 6 hours of self-study required. That happens if you don't get good enough training. So if you have to study for 5 hours a day, that means you're not just doing the questions, you're also doing the content. And if you're having to do the content, then the trainer has not done a good enough job. फिर उसने अच्छा काम नहीं किया, उसने अपना काम सही से नहीं किया. That is the problem. If the trainer does a good enough job, then you'll get the concept. And once you get the concept, then you won't have to study 5 hours. You'll be able to suffice it for 2 hours. That's the idea. I hope that answers your question. So Ishmeet, not for CPA. I don't recommend leaving your job. I recommend continuing onward with your job and finding 2 hours daily. दिन में 2 घंटे निकाल सकता तो पता. अगर नहीं निकल रहे, ये प्रॉब्लम आ गई कि ऐसी जॉब है which is not paying you well enough and is also consuming most of your time, then you should think about it. पर फिर ये अपना ना personal call है. So then for that, let's connect on a phone call and then figure it out there. Public forum पे I don't want to get into your personal details. वो वाली बात है. But आमतौर पे मेरा एडवाइस ये नहीं रहता है. मोस्ट पीपल एक्चुअली विल, इफ दे आर ऑनेस्ट, दे विल फाइंड 2 hours डेली. 2 घंटा हम बेकार काम करते हैं रोज, वो बेकार काम काट कर 2 घंटा अच्छे काम में लगाओ, पढ़ाई में लगाओ, फायदा मिलेगा. दैट्स द पॉइंट. I don't think you need to quit your job for that. Done? All done? Okay. Anything else from anybody? Aya? So Nimisha, I teach all 4 subjects. All 4. ऐसा नहीं है कि मैं एक ही पढ़ाता हूँ या मैं 2 ही पढ़ाता हूँ, मैं चारों पढ़ाता हूँ. What we've done at EduMont is, so of course I can't take up all the classes. It's not physically possible. It's not feasible. So what we've done is I have a team. I told you there are about 8 faculties at EduMont. So I've got a team जिसमें से 2 बंदे OTB specialist हैं, 2 बंदे classes देते हैं मेरे साथ. So there's about 3 teachers that you see in front of the camera. And what we've done is we've divided topics. So I'll take up more than 60% of every subject. That's the point here. I'll take up more than 60% of every subject, and the other faculties will come along and sprinkle along on 1 topic or 2 topics. That's the idea. So I actually take up a majority of your training personally, and that's the point I really want. हाँ, because again, बहुत अच्छा सवाल है. किसने पूछा ये? मेघना ने बहुत अच्छा सवाल पूछा. Even for a slow learner, is 2 hours enough? And I'll tell you one thing, Meghna, you're not going to learn the content. मतलब रट्टे मारने वाला काम नहीं है यार. It's more about practicing. So when you go through the practice and you do it 2 hours consistently, तो धीरे धीरे काम आ जाता है. That's the beauty of it. ये होता है उसमें जरूर कि it's possible कि somebody who's really quick, really sharp, will be able to pick it up within a few months, and you may take a month extra. But 2 घंटा डेली लगाओगे ना कंसिस्टेंसी से, तो उससे रिजल्ट आ जाएगा. I know this because मैंने खुद मैं EY में था जब मैंने अपनी CPA शुरू करी थी. उन्होंने स्पॉन्सर करी थी, तो मैंने EY में नौकरी के साथ रहते रहते की अपनी CPA, और मैं ये करता था कि दिन में 2 घंटा निकालता था, मैं पढ़ता था. That is the idea. So out of experience I'm able to tell you this. That's the idea.
How do you pay 50,000 for exam? What about registration fees?
So sir, the idea is 50,000 ना, ये combined number है. ये ऐसा नहीं कि 50,000 ही है, और उसके beyond कुछ extra fees है, ऐसा भी नहीं है. So it's supposed to be a mix. Okay, I will make that. I'll explain it to you one more time. Let me just answer this question that I'm answering. So essentially what you're asking is 50,000, how do we pay the 50,000? It's actually broken down into multiple parts. It's not like you got to pay more than 50, but it's not like you got to pay 50,000 at once. It's actually bits and pieces. So a small amount of this gets paid as exam fee. Another small part gets paid as international testing fee. And then there's about a $25 registration fee that you're talking about, registration fee. And then there's an application fee as well for applying for an NTS, which I think is about $49. So that's separately payable. So the whole thing combined in rupees will cost about 50K. But it will go, even this 50K will go in bits and pieces. That's the idea. Okay, coming back to Meghna's question. Meghna, your question was, is 2 hours sufficient for a slow learner? So the idea is if you put in 2 hours consistently every day, you will get to the point where you learn. Because you're not rote learning the content here, you're trying to practice a skill. So it's about developing a skill more so than rote learning a content. And if you're a slow learner, the only drawback will be, let's say there's a guy who learns fast, a quick learner. A quick learner may be able to pick up the skill in a month. You may take 2 months, but 2 hours is sufficient. And it's not going to help you if you put in instead of 2, you put in 4 hours. It's not going to make you do the same thing that the quick guy did in a month. It'll still take 2 months, because it's not a matter of how many hours you put in, it's a matter of consistency. It's a skill you are developing. To develop a skill, consistent practice is what counts. That is the idea. I hope that answers your question, Meghna.
How does teaching the journey will be for CA who are inclined to topics? Is it still difficult or difficulty because of exam pattern?
So the difficulty is down to the exam pattern, not down to the content. When you get through to the content, you will actually be able to relate with most of it. In fact, you start enjoying it. आपको लगेगा अच्छा, okay, in India this is what we do, and this is very different in the US. And you'll sort of relate with that, and you'll realize अच्छा, this is why it is different, and you'll sort of click every time. Content will be nice and friendly for you, but it's the exam difficulty level that you have to ace. And that is the only element of difficulty. As long as I'm at the helm and we're training you, content will always come to you easy peasy. It's not going to be a problem. That's the point. Content में मुश्किल आ गई तो सर हम अपने काम में fail हो गए. That's how I look at it.
we should have knowledge of all the 4 subjects to do the exam for everyone.
So that's another very good question. Should I have knowledge of all the 4 exams before I give any one particular exam? Actually, the thing is, you should go through all 4 at least once and then pick your most difficult one. And the reason I tell you that is there is naturally a bit of interlink between each subject. So for example, if you're doing auditing, how are you going to audit anything if you don't understand US GAAP, which is accounting and reporting? So you need to study FAR, at least at a basic elemental level, before you get into audit. And then once you get through to the BEC classes, you will realize BEC has quite an overlap with audit. Especially the first chapter of BEC, which is corporate governance and internal controls, is essentially the same topic that's being taught in audit. So they have an interlink. And of course, if you don't understand regulations from FAR versus FAR, then you're not going to be able to understand why deferred taxes exist, because deferred taxes exist because of temporary differences between the rules of tax basis, and how you expense things in your GAAP, your income in your books. That's the idea. So deferred taxes समझने के लिए ये इनका दोनों का थोड़ा थोड़ा समझ होना जरूरी है. So similarly, you will find that there are other topics, other areas where interlinks exist. That's why at EduMont we always recommend go with all 4 subjects at least once before you start planning your exam and before you start taking up a subject. That's why we never recommend. I know my competitors, some of them, not all of them, some of them do कि एक टाइम पे एक सब्जेक्ट पढ़ के उसका पेपर दे देंगे and then it will be good, but we don't do that for this very reason कि एक एक करके दोगे तो उसी पेपर का समझोगे, you will not be able to understand the rest of it. That's the problem.
Sir, once you complete one exam, will you get coaching one subject for the second subject?
Oh yes. So once you complete an exam, we're happy to provide you coaching for the next subject, and if you feel that you want to repeat a particular class over and over, you're welcome to do that. We do not ask questions on how many times you sat in the classroom. That's entirely up to you. I know this is not a Netflix series that you'll keep watching over and over, that you'll binge watch all the time. If you're sitting in my class, it's because you have a need for it, and I'm not going to question your need. That's the idea. I hope that answers your question, Meghna. Done. All right. With that being said, thank you so much, everybody. If you have any more questions still, feel free to reach out to any of the people who originally reached out to you from EduMont. So reach out to our program advisors and feel free to ask the questions there and tell them you want to connect with me, and they'll help you connect with me as well if needed. And have a great weekend ahead. Bye, everybody. See you all soon.